Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dan and Frankie Go to Hollywood. I don't have any energy because I've got twin kids and they're like around 7 weeks old and I haven't had any sleep, and so this is as much energy as you're gonna get from me tonight. No, I'll perk up. I'll be fun and stuff anyway. So yes, for those of you who have no idea what this is, which would be weird, why would you click on a podcast that you don't know what it is? But yes, this is Dan and Frankie Go to Hollywood. My name is Dan.
And I'm Frankie.
And yeah, so look, I'm just going to let you talk about your life because, yeah.
Why? I'm not the one that has interesting stuff to talk about.
Are you kidding me? How many movies have you watched in the last fortnight?
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's that's our recently watched movie section.
Roughly, how many movies?
I don't know, I don't count.
Roughly. Like a dozen?
You should have told me you were going to bring this up and I couldn't.
I didn't know I was going to bring it up. You know I make everything up as we go along. Like 10 movies, 12, it would be more than that, wouldn't it? Because you watch like 16 movies a day on average.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14.
Okay, there you go.
And a couple of Chaplin shorts.
All right.
And since last episode.
Up until this afternoon, I had watched one movie outside of our homework movies, okay? One movie. That is all I had a chance to...
But you said about my life. Obviously, I don't have one. I just watched movies. So I don't have anything interesting to talk about except the movies I'm going to talk about in our movie
And you
section.
know what? I really envy you. I've been peed on. I've been thrown up on. I haven't been shat on at this point, but I have dealt with enough shit. I'm and I mean, you've been to the movies. You've actually like been out into the world to a cinema. I haven't been there since the 11th of May. That was the last time I went because I remember that was like the absolutely awful Abigail experience that I had. I still have a double pass waiting for me at the counter of the cinema that I haven't gone and picked up yet because, you know, yeah. So this is why I'm handing it over to you to tell the world about your wonderful life because I want to hear about it. You got
what? I went to work and I watched movies.
Yay! See, I envy you.
Yeah.
Anyway. Wow, do you remember a time when we first started this podcast and it was like, oh man, like what have you been up to? Oh my god, we've done this and this, we've been to movie premieres and we've like hung out and had movie marathons and all of this stuff, and now it's just like, I am an empty shell of a human being. Kill me now.
Hey, at least you've worked out a trick to get some more sleep now.
Brilliant segue, because I was almost going to jump into that. Yes, so yesterday, my beloved fiancée Kylie left me alone with the kids, which ordinarily, there's a lot of people out there would be like, oh my god, you left Dan alone with kids, but no, it's fine. And the two were crying uncontrollably, and, you know, they'd been fed, they'd been changed. I, you know, pulled funny faces at them. I did whatever I could to amuse them, and it wasn't working. And so I thought to myself, isn't there that thing where, like, babies and music, like, is a thing? So I got my phone, I popped it between them. I selected the Psalm 69 album by Ministry because I thought, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that 9 out of 10 babies love 90s industrial metal. I could be wrong. Maybe I made that statistic up. I totally did. And so anyway, I popped that on, and within a minute, they not only stopped crying and were sort of fascinated by the sounds and everything, but they actually fell asleep. And so I left the album running, and then after that, I put on some Mr. Bungle, and they loved that. I fed them Metallica and Nita Strauss, and what else did I get? Some Marilyn Manson. Like, I was just giving them all of this metal music, and they were just loving it. And so, yeah, last night, because for those of you who don't have experience with babies, it's not a lot of fun. You have to wake up every 2 or 3 hours to go through the hour to an hour and a half feeding ritual, and then when you put them back, they start crying again. And so last night, yeah, we tried the trick. We put an old phone of mine in the cot between them, left music running. The first lot where they actually slept solidly for 3 hours, which was a miracle. But then, after we fed them at like 5 in the morning, I remember waking up at like 9:45 or something, and I thought I must have missed a feeding session. And I said to Kylie, I was like, "Oh, did I miss a feed?" And she's like, "No, it's only 8:30." I was like, "No, it's actually nearly 10 o'clock." She's like, "What the fuck?" And yeah, the kids actually slept for like 5 hours, and even then, we had to wake them to feed them. So, yeah, the power of music. It's yeah, a really wonderful thing. And so anyone out there who goes through that, there you go, there's some free advice for you. Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying that industrial metal is going to work with every baby, but throw on some Vanilla Ice, throw on some Electric Bongo, which you can find available on Spotify. Yeah, anyway, so there you go. Yes, that was my, to be honest, I would happily sacrifice 2 weeks worth of movies just for that one nugget of knowledge to be able to sleep at night. Because I've actually felt good today. Like, for the first time in weeks, I actually woke up this morning and I was like, oh my God, I feel kind of refreshed. Like, this is, absolutely life-changing stuff. So there you go. Yeah. Yeah. And now here we are.
And you'll be able to watch movies. Like, you'll be able to get through the length of a movie, perhaps, without being interrupted.
Well, yeah, we tried this afternoon. We thought, okay, let's watch a movie. And so we put on a few songs to try and calm them down, but it didn't really work as well. So we ended up having to just, hold them while we watched a movie, which is fine. But yeah, we still managed to get another movie in, so that was good. But yeah, although was it? I mean,
interestingly, I was talking to a girl at work about it. She's got her kid's about 1 or something. And she was really surprised. But she used to listen, because I said in the photo that you sent me, it looked like a Evanescence album cover on the screen, and she used to listen to them, and she said, she should try it with her son, because he's starting to get into like moving and dancing and stuff.
Oh, okay, right.
So she's like, I should try that. And then what I was going to say something else and I got distracted.
Did you see a squirrel?
Oh yeah, that's right. She was saying she'd been told things by people over time, and one of the things that she had done was to put the vacuum cleaner on. And I actually was watching a Casey Affleck interview, and he said when he cried when he was a baby a lot, and so his parents just turned on the vacuum. And it's like a white noise thing. Yeah, the girl at work had to put on white noise for her kid, so she likes to sleep in silence, so she just had this hissing white noise sound. So yeah, I guess noise is a thing. It's just like people, everyone has their preference of what noise they like.
Well, we've got a pink noise machine, which is pretty much like white noise, that we would sometimes leave on, which didn't really do much.
I didn't know that there were so many different colours of noise until I've got the car map, and I was going through and I tested, because I don't like that. I prefer some kind of more musical kind of tracks or soundscapes, like waves and things. But yeah, I was like, there's a pink noise, there's a brown noise, there's just all these different kinds, but none of them sounded good to me.
Oh, believe me, we've heard plenty of brown noise, but it's coming out of the babies themselves. But yeah, so we got that. We got a musical mobile that hangs over them in the cot, that plays different sort of melodies and stuff, which sometimes kind of works. But nothing has worked like putting a phone between them and just, cranking some rock. Yeah, we're sort of alternating between which music we want to introduce the kids to. So Evanescence was one of Kylie's choices. So, which is kind of fun. Like, I know obviously they're way too young at like 7 weeks or whatever to really process. They're not going to listen to Angel Dust by Faith No More and think to themselves, man, this is a really solid album. Patton's vocals are on fire.
But they're just like, you can hear voices. It's kind of comforting that we're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know if it's got something to do with the sound of the phone speaker that it makes, or if it's because it's closer to them, or whatever it is. I don't know, but yeah, I just hope that they keep this up because yeah, I like sleeping, and I miss it.
Well,
I
even
miss
if
it a
it's just
lot.
a nighttime thing, maybe it's just like a comfort in the dark kind of thing, and that's why it's not such a thing during the daytime.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sort of taking me back to like my teen years and stuff where I used to always listen to an album to fall asleep to, I'd always like pop the headphones on and go to sleep listening to, Megadeth or Mr. Bungle or Motley Crue. There's a lot of M bands. Wow. So I only listen to bands that begin with M just so everybody knows. And the ones that I do want to listen to, I change their names.
Well, I
So,
mean,
like
you've got
Mantera and
Faith No More is not
Maith
an
No
M,
More.
but Mike's the singer.
Yeah, but no, I
So,
changed the band names to like
oh,
Mantera and
okay, so
Moisen, Muns
Maith
and
No More.
Roses. I love, yeah, Muns and Roses are great. Yeah, jeez Louise. Wow, this podcast is off to a great start, isn't it? So, for anybody who's still with us, um, so what do we do? Like, I can't even remember how this goes. We do our discussion things now. Is that right? Like, yeah, we're doing that. Are we?
You mean the question?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do we jump
because
into that?
then we're gonna talk
Oh,
movies.
actually, no, because I did want to mention the pics that we saw from the Superman set, where we've
Oh,
seen the dreamy Nathan Fillion dressed in his little Green Lantern costume. Oh my god, that sounded so gay. No, okay, so I am one of the world's biggest Green Lantern fans, and I've loved Nathan Fillion's voice work in various animated shows and movies as Green Lantern. It kind of sucks to me that he's playing Guy Gardner, which is like the most shit Green Lantern out of all of them, but I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, so
maybe he won't be in this movie.
well, who knows? But yeah, so pics emerged from the set. I mean, we've seen David Corenswet in his Superman costume, great. But yeah, we've seen Mr. Terrific and Hawkgirl and Green Lantern in their matching costumes, which yeah, you had some speculation about that because I was like, oh, they're all matching. And
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just saw pictures and they just said Justice League, and so I was like, oh, I guess they're doing some. No, because I saw another thing. Some company made the uniforms for them, and it has their logo. So I guess that's why they must be working with that, and so they got given. I don't
okay,
know. I don't even know these characters. I just saw. Was it Mr. Terrific? I just saw
yeah,
pictures of him on set, and I was like, "Ooh, he looks cool." They had
yeah,
like all
yeah,
the dark makeup around the eyes and stuff, but I
yeah.
don't know. I
I
know
wonder if it'll
Hawkgirl
be like a
from
LexCorp thing or something.
was that Hawkgirl in that show Titans? No, that was Hawk
Um,
and Dove. That was the guy, so that's a
right,
different
right.
thing. There's so many like
Mm,
similar things.
yeah.
So yeah, I
I
don't know
know. I
any of
know.
the characters. I've heard of Green Lantern, but I haven't
Mm.
seen any media
Oh,
stuff, so I
wow.
don't know any of the characters.
Oh, at one point, GL was my most favorite comic book character, like even above Batman, Superman, everybody. Because I was first introduced to the character in the 90s when there was a character named Kyle Rayner who was the Lantern at the time, and this guy was an artist. And it appealed to me because Green Lantern's power comes from this magic ring that can manifest anything the wearer can think of into physical form, like green, matter. And that appealed to me so much, being a creative person myself. Imagine having this superpower that's based on your imagination, And I'll never forget there was a panel of one comic, I think it was on the first page, where Kyle Rayner is flying along in a green X-wing from Star Wars, because why not? That's what he thought of, and that's what he had, and yeah, so that really appealed to me in a big way. And I know I kind of went backwards. Then I found out about Hal Jordan, who was, everyone's going on as like the greatest Green Lantern and the original, well, not the original, but and stuff, and yeah, I was kind of like,
You talk about magic rings, I just think of Captain Planet.
which I've never seen. I know. I'm the one person who's never seen Captain Planet before.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen it since it was on TV, so I don't know if it in any way would hold up to rewatch it, like even as a fun nostalgia thing,
Right.
or yeah, because I don't remember it. It's been so long, but I absolutely loved that show back in the day.
Oh, a lot of people did. I think, yeah, Kylie talks about it as well. Like, so many people are into it, and I've never seen it before. But yeah, so no, I was chuffed. I mean, Nathan Fillion is one of my most favorite actors in the world and personal friend of mine. Long story, never mind. And playing one of my favorite comic book characters in a DC film by one of my favorite directors. I mean,
You have pretty good luck with your comic stuff. Like you have Margot Robbie come play Harley Quinn.
that was reverse engineering, though.
Oh, you didn't know her before that?
I know I knew about her.
I mean, not like you weren't into her a lot before that?
Funnily enough, it was all because of a big joke. Like, I was aware of her and I thought she was ridiculously good looking. Like, I've known about her ever since her Neighbours days.
Yeah.
And then, so, no, I mean, Harley Quinn I've been into since 92, but sort of more obsessed with her, in more recent years. But no, even when she played her in 2016 in Suicide Squad, I was kind of like, oh yeah, like, she was really good in it and everything. But then I can't remember how, it was all to do with Twitter. I remember that much. I started sort of pretending that she was just the freaking greatest thing on earth, and so I was kind of pretending like I was obsessed with her, but then it became this thing where everyone started associating me with her, like, and bringing her up all the time and all this sort of stuff, and so then it just sort of spiraled into this thing where I kind of she then became my favorite actress, and like I don't know, it all sort of happened unintentionally, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, that being said, like, she definitely earned it. Like, she is an incredibly versatile and brilliant actress. There's no doubting that. Yeah, but I just don't think I would have had this kind of obsession with her had it not been for Twitter turning it into a joke. So, yeah. So there you go. But anyway, I kind of like this episode. This is just really way more conversational than most episodes we do, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, how far along are we? And
yeah,
we
I'm not
haven't
even going to edit
really
anything so far.
started much yet.
I know. I'm not even going to edit anything. I'm just leaving this. Like, yeah, heck with
And we have this question from Nobbins that I haven't even decided on my answers, so I don't know how long it's going to take me to figure that
Well,
out.
should we do your question that you came up with, or should we do Nobbins' question?
Oh, are we
first?
doing that? I thought we would do that when we actually talk about the
That's
movie
a good idea
later.
because I don't want to reveal a certain person playing a certain role in it that was a big surprise to everybody at the time, in case people don't know about it and haven't seen it. So that's actually very smart thinking. So, all right, well, yeah. So we were a bit sad because we didn't really have any big discussion questions for the podcast tonight, and so we were chatting with a friend of the show, Nobbins, earlier, and I said to him, hey, come on, give us a podcast question / scenario for discussion tonight, and instantly he came up with such a gem. And thank you, Nobbins. We're actually thinking of promoting you to our chief content creator or content writer soon. So the question is, so a witch came along and cursed you so that you could only watch one movie from each of the past 5 decades for the rest of your life. Which 5 movies do you choose? To which I clarified, so that was 2010s, 2000s, 90s, 80s, and 70s, and he confirmed that. So, yeah. And I thought it was going to be harder than it was, but see, I've got this advantage where I have got my definitive top 10 favorite movies of all time to draw upon. So
Well,
that
see,
helped me.
I didn't think of it like that,
Mm-hmm.
which helped me
Mm-hmm.
because I mean I don't have a top favorite
Mm.
movies list because I can't pick 10 movies that I think are better than every other movie.
Yeah.
But because this is firstly all we have for the rest of our lives, so it
Mm.
has to be a movie that can be rewatched a bunch of
Yeah.
times without losing anything. So that will take some amazing movies off the list because you don't want to be
Mm.
watching them all the time. And then also, I thought I kind of have to think about every decade put together because if I want to have variety in what I watch, because a lot of times the fun movies are the ones you can watch a lot
Mm.
because they're fun. But then you don't want just five fun movies. You want to kind of have different moods.
You know, the funny thing is, your brain and mine, once again, are so in sync because, yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought, okay, there's obviously going to be some movies along this trajectory that I will pluck from my top favorites of all time. But, yeah, like, for instance, the 2000s, I'm pretty sure the only movie from the 2000s that I've got in my top 10 favorite movies of all time is Napoleon Dynamite. Because I just think that was such an extraordinary film. But that being said, yeah, would I only want to watch that? Yeah, so I've thought about that as well. So, all right, shall we go through our choices then? Starting from, shall we go from the 70s?
Yeah. Let's start with the first two decades were the easiest for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the other three, I still have 8 to 10 movies, and I don't know which one I'm going to pick.
Well, you can read them out and I'll pick one for you.
70s, I have 5 on my short list. Yay, Letterboxd. I could just browse through every single movie I watched in the decade and write down a short list.
Yep.
They're all very different moods.
Yeah. And cue the thinking.
You know what? I actually think.
Mm.
I'm questioning myself, but I think I have decided that I am going to pick Rocky.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting.
Because,
and why is that?
It's a sports movie, which has a training section to it, which always gets me motivated to exercise.
Right,
So
right.
that would be handy.
Yeah.
But also, it has a whole lot of romance in it, so it's covering that as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that's one that I would be happy to watch regularly.
And of course,
I did
there's
have
that scene where Sylvester Stallone is bashing his meat, so to speak. You know, the freezer, like bashing his meat. Sorry, yes,
I
please
did
continue.
have I had Alien, Suspiria, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and What's Up Doc as my other potentials.
I don't have a short list for 70s. I didn't even have to give it any thought whatsoever. Okay, let's see how well you know me. What's my 70s? What's my 70s choice? Come on, what is it?
Star Wars.
Yeah, of course it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
Of course, as if I'm not going to pick a movie that I have seen most likely close to 100 times that defined not only my childhood, but pretty much my life. It made me the person that I am today. It is like my earliest childhood memory. It is a lifelong obsession. So yeah, that was just, I did not even have to think about that. I'm sure there's a lot of other 70s films that I could consider, but I'm just not going to. There's no point. Yeah. So, which kind of sucks because I was sort of thinking, with the 80s, like, because you got Empire Strikes Back from 1980, which I know is technically, in my opinion, well, a lot of opinions, a better movie than Star Wars or A New Hope. But I always consider Star Wars my favorite movie because, that was where it all began, so yeah. But then, of course, Return of the Jedi was 83, and I was like, oh, man, so would I choose one of those? And then I kind of thought, well, No, I wouldn't. I'd just leave Star Wars as it is, like, because it is. You could look at it as a standalone film, you know. I mean, it does have a beginning, middle, and a definitive end. Like, yeah. So the rest of the trilogy, unfortunately, yep, I getting kicked. So, all right. So for the 80s, what were you thinking?
Surely you know my 80s.
Ah, yes, of course I do. Thou shalt not kill. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm never going to get sick of watching The Lost Boys.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
fun and it's vampires. I did have The Burbs and Labyrinth on my list. More The Burbs. Labyrinth I have seen a million times and it's childhood nostalgia. The first time I saw it was New Year's Eve when I was 10. And it's got good music, but I think The Burbs is better. But
Yeah.
Lost Boys rules
Oh,
the
yeah.
80s.
Well, the fact that, yeah, admittedly, it took me a few seconds to think, but yeah, it clicked to me, of course, like, yeah, duh. If anyone knows you, like, yeah, that's an easy one. Look, so for my 80s choice, like I've got three 80s movies in my top 10 favorite movies of all time, and they are Die Hard, Back to the Future, and Better Off Dead. And so I was considering those three films. Now, I think Die Hard I think that might be number 4. Like, that's very high up in my list and stuff. But look, these, yeah, like you said before, these have got to be comfort movies. These have got to be movies that you just know you're not going to get sick of watching them ever. And they've got to, give you a sense of fun and entertainment and everything. And I'm sure, I mean, God, I don't know how many times I've seen Die Hard. Like, yeah, but, I might get sick of watching that after a while. So my choice is a movie that I've probably seen more than Die Hard, probably seen more than any other 80s movie. And I'm going with Deadly Prey.
Of course.
Look, honestly, I mean, yeah, I mean, that movie is just so trashy. It is such a bad film, all of those things. But the love that I have for that film, I mean, right up there is my Deadliest Prey signed lobby cards that was sent to me by Ted Pryor, the lead actor. I mean, like that movie just has such a place in my heart, and so much of my life has revolved around this film. So that was actually my choice for the 80s. So yeah, there you go. All right, on to our favorite decade.
This is where it gets hard.
That's what she said.
I have 10 movies on
Oh,
my,
wow.
my
Do you need-
90s
Do you need me to
shortlist.
pick one for you?
No,
Okay.
but I don't I don't know how I'm going to pick one because there's like really important movies like The Craft. It's one of the biggest like what's the word? Impact on my life type movies.
Yep.
Encino Man, of course. Dazed and Confused, one of the like best hangout movies and soundtracks ever. Four Weddings and a Funeral, which I just love
Yeah.
so much. Jurassic Park. Amy. Lost Highway. Go.
Yeah.
If I can only pick one.
Yep.
I think.
The witch has cursed you. She's cackling.
Okay, I've got it down to 2.
Yeah.
No, I have. Oh,
Oh, wow.
I think if I separate the history of one of the films and just look at the films themselves, I have to go Dazed and Confused.
All right. There you go. See,
Yeah.
that wasn't too hard. Yeah, it was. Yeah, cool. No, good choice. Yeah, I think is it most of my top 10 list of 90s films? I mean, let's do this. So we got Seven, The Crow, Ring, Clerks, From Dusk Till Dawn. Yeah, so five. Like half of my top 10 favorite movies list of all time is 90s movies. And yeah, I know, like, yeah, I'm so predictable. I'm sorry. I'm going with 7. I can't help it. Rewatching it for our homework assignment films and stuff like that, like, as soon as that movie comes on, I was sitting in bed, I was like really tired, we started the movie and everything. I was so buzzing wide awake. Like, that movie does things to me that not many movies do, which kind of sounds a little naughty, but anyway, that movie touches me in places that no other movies touch me. Yeah, show me on the doll where 7 touched you. Yeah, it is, to me, just, it's perfection. Like, I've always said that if the Star Wars trilogy didn't exist, and yes, it's a trilogy to me, that would be, to me, the greatest movie of all time. So, yeah, I do like the idea of, if you said to me, though, gun to your head, you can't pick 7, I might go...
That's not the question.
No, I know that.
The question isn't pick your favorite and then you have to get rid of it and pick a different one.
No, but you don't understand. The witch dropped her broomstick and she's actually pulled out a Glock from her black coat thing and stuff, and she's got it held to my hand. And she's like, everyone knew you were going to pick 7, so here's where things change, bitch. She talks like that. And then, see, she's got the gun held sideways as well. She's so gangster. Yeah, she's like, so yeah, you can't pick that one, you idiot. And I'll be like, oh, god damn it. So I would go with From Dusk Till Dawn, if I couldn't pick 7, because yeah, that movie to me is so purely entertaining and has so much energy and stuff. The Crow, while that's my number 3 movie, like, it sort of depresses me a little bit, like, so yeah. I mean, as does 7, but in a different kind of way. So yeah, anyway, so there you go. That's my long-winded ramble on 90s movies. Now we've progressed into Y2K.
Yeah, I have a bit of recency bias on here because I just watched The Assassination of Jesse James and 3:10 to Yuma, which are both from this decade,
yes.
And I really liked them both. Admittedly, as much as I love 3:10 to Yuma, which I do, if Ben Foster wasn't in it playing that character, it probably wouldn't be quite as, like, I wouldn't, like, a lot of thinking about it is about how cool that character is, who may not have been that cool with someone else playing. Who knows? But yeah, and then I also, you were speaking before about Star Wars.
I was.
I also have the original Harry Potter, because I know a lot of people say, oh, the best Harry Potter is the 3rd one because that's when it goes dark. But I love setup stories, so I think the first Harry Potter film is like a 5-star film for me because it's just so fun. It's that whole, like, finding out, that you're magic, and then going to the school, and then everyone's there learning all the new magic stuff and whatever. I just find those kinds of stories really fun. It's, same with books. I like a big long series and just, like, get started and go into it. North Fork, which, well, I'm going to talk about that in a bit anyway. I do really like The War of the Worlds.
Wow.
Remake, and...
That's okay. You just admitted that in public, right? To a audience.
No,
so.
I'm like happy in myself to love that film.
Rockin'
I
on.
think it's really
Fair
good.
enough.
I've got Northanger Abbey, which is my, like, full-on romance. Makes me so happy because it's just like, do I want to keep this movie that will just make me swoon and make me feel happy and has, like, perfect, like, male character to fall in love with.
Yep.
Who also is as good as in the book.
Right.
And Hot Rod.
Because, good stuff.
It's just so weird and wacky. But I don't know if that's very specific. So, if I can only pick one. Oh, and have Amelie on the list as well. do I want more of an action one? Do I want like the most amazing performances, or do I want the like really nice feeling, or do I want the romance?
I don't know. Only you can make this decision. You have to choose your favorite child, and all the rest of them are going to be pushed over a cliff or something. I don't know. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And this podcast is not endorsed or sponsored in any way by TikTok. I should say that I'm using that as a clock reference, not promoting the social media app. Oh wow. So for all of those who can't see right now, I'm looking at Frankie. She's got her head buried in her hand at the moment. She's
I'm staring at the names.
If you listen really closely, like turn your volume up, you can actually hear the cogs turning inside her head at this point in time. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to add an epic to my list, a really dramatic film to go with my hangout comedy sports movies. I am going to pick The Assassination of Jesse James.
Excellent. All right. Well, I gave this far less thought than you did. But, I've got a choice of 2 movies for my 2000s. But no, that's okay, because I don't know. I
love movies. It's hard to
What,
choose
and I
just
don't? What is behind me right now? Hello?
I don't know how you can look at the whole decade and go, yeah, there's only 2 that I have to think about.
There is, because one of them is a movie that I have always proclaimed is number 11 in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. And that is Cloverfield. And so that movie straight away popped into my mind. I was like, oh my God, it's got to be that. But then I sort of thought to myself, would you really want to watch only that one like over and over and over again and that sort of thing? So then I gave it some thought, and I've actually come up with a movie that also, oh man, this is a movie that really meant a great deal to me, and it was one of those things that I was part of this sort of subculture in such a massive way that, you know, it was a big part of my life. So I'm actually going with Serenity, which was, of course, the follow-on film from the TV show Firefly, which is my most favorite TV show of all time. I have met 8 of the 9 cast members and got autographs. I have props from the show. Actually, I got a prop from Serenity as well. That movie is such a huge deal to me. I remember in 2005 going to a preview screening of it, and they actually had a letter from Joss Whedon that they read out to us beforehand and all this sort of stuff, because he was explaining that some of the visual effects work wasn't quite completed and all this sort of stuff, and you know, it was like such a memorable occasion. And so I've actually picked Serenity because that is a movie that just, to me, it has everything. You know, it's an action movie. It's funny. It's deeply tragic if you're invested in the characters. You know, it's just got so much heart and soul to it. It is just a perfect film. So
I watched that before I ever saw anything of Firefly.
A lot of people did, and that breaks my heart. I remember working in a video store, and I'd actually gotten my boss really heavily into Firefly, and so when Serenity came out, he ordered so many copies of that film, and so you know, so many people were renting it and coming back and going, you know, oh yeah, it was all right. I didn't really get the characters and everything. I was like, oh, well, you know, have you seen Firefly? They're like, what's that? It's like, oh man.
Well, I really liked it, even though I didn't know the characters.
Yeah.
I think I found it because I was really into the show Numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, what's David Krumholtz been in? He's in this movie Serenity, so I watched it.
Right. No, I remember, because I never wanted to get into Firefly, and a friend of mine was just, you know, proclaiming this show to be the best thing ever, and he said to me, look, you know, he gave me the box set. He's like, look, watch this show. If you watch the first episode, if you don't like it, then that's fair enough. At least you've given it a go. And I thought, yeah, that's fair. So I sat down and I was trying not to like it. I mean, I actually sat there. I'm like, hate this fucking show. This stupid space cowboy shit. Oh wow, okay, that's cool. But no, I hate this show. Oh my god, these people are so stupid. Oh wow, okay, that was really cool. And so it got to the end of the first episode, which was a feature-length film, and I was like, all right, look, I'm going to watch one more, and that is it. I'm not watching any more of this stupid space cowboy show. And so I put the next episode on. By the end of that, I was like, oh my god, what happens next? And I binged the entire season in like 2 days, and I just sat there by the end of it. I'm just like, that is perfection. That is, no TV show is ever going to compete with this for the rest of my life. That is how deeply I loved it. And that's what I mean. Like, it became a thing. I've traveled around parts of the country to chase autographs from Nathan Fillion and Sean Maher and all these people. And it's just been such an adventure for me. So, but the good thing was at the video store, of course, there were occasionally, sometimes people would be like, oh, I want to rent Serenity. And I'd be like, stop. Have you seen Firefly? And they'd be like, no. It's like, okay, go rent that first and then come back and stuff. So, I was able to do that a few times. So, yeah. So there you go. Serenity's my choice for the 2000s. On to 2010s.
Cool. Oh. This also is hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, do I need a horror on my list? In which case, Hereditary.
Mm-hmm.
Or February,
Yeah.
as it's known here, but is really called The Black Coat's Daughter.
Yeah.
Or do I want La La Land? Because, musical, and it's so, like, happy and perfect and also not. So, Prisoners.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know what it is about this film because it's, like, got some horrific stuff and the plot is about little girls being abducted. But I can just watch it again and again, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I watched it twice within, a week.
Oh.
After first watching it, and then you watched it.
Yeah,
then we watched it again, so we could do our bonus episode.
There is nothing quite like watching some child abduction to get you through the day. Yeah.
But it's just something about the movie and the characters and things. Then Interstellar, a space movie.
Oh god.
That's the movie that last time I went to rewatch it, I was like, this movie's really long, I'll just watch part of it and I'll finish the rest later. And then I sat there and watched the whole thing because I just got into it again, couldn't turn it off. Take Shelter, Jeff Nichols became one of my favorite directors when I went through his films. He has 5 or something, and then The Bike Riders, of course, has just come out. And do I want to live the rest of my life with no Michael Shannon film? To never watch him again.
Yeah.
And his performance is so good in Take Shelter. And I've got The Double, the film that's another film that I've never met anyone who's seen it. But that's a really great Jesse Eisenberg performance.
Yep.
And then I threw in Tucker and Dale versus
Oh,
Evil,
nice.
But
Yeah. Great
I don't
film.
think that's going to make the cut with all these other films, but it just seemed worthy of a mention because it's such a good film.
It is a good film.
And it's not going to win, but another one I felt should be mentioned is Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yeah,
my
right.
favorite MCU film, and I think the only MCU film that I've given 5 stars.
Oh, wow.
Perhaps.
That's
But
a
it's number 1
controversial
for
opinion.
sure anyway.
So that being said, who's going to be the winner of your 2010s pick?
Again, I think I've narrowed it down to 2.
Yeah, which 2?
Prisoners and La La Land.
Ooh, as if you're not going to pick La La Land. Come on.
But Prisoners is so good, and Detective Loki's become one of my all-time favorite movie people.
Yeah. All right, I got money.
Yeah,
on...
I'm going to pick La La Land.
Yeah. Of course you're going to pick La La Land.
But at the same time, I kind of have the thing with La La Land that I want to rewatch it because it's so amazing. But at the same time, I keep stopping myself because there's a thing in it that is hard to watch, and so I, it's hard because it's such a
I know, but you
like
got to take
amazing
those
film.
movies once in a while. I mean, look, I've got 7 on my list, and that movie is just
Yeah.
depressing and bleak as fuck. But yeah, you got to balance things out once in a while. Well, look, for me, it was a no-brainer. I've picked a movie that is probably number 12 in my top 10 list of all-time favorite movies. And I have gone MCU. I'm going Avengers: Infinity War. Oh my god, that movie just, it is such a wild ride. And again, it's got everything. It's got action, it's got comedy, it's got so much suspense. And Thanos, I just think, is one of the single greatest villains in cinema history. Not just in terms of the visual effects and everything, but the fact that it's like, he's got this grand plan which is going to wipe out 50% of the universe and everything, but it's like, was he wrong? You sort of think to yourself, man, this guy actually had really good motivations. He was doing it to try and preserve life on planets and things like that, resources and everything. And it's like, damn, dude, like, you're not all the way evil. You're kind of this gray area villain. And I mean, it sort of pains me that I couldn't keep Endgame with it, but as far as I'm concerned, of the two of them, Infinity War is just my favorite, and that was easily my favorite film of the 2010s, and so I've gone with that one. So,
All right. Well, just to recap and get an idea of the rest of our lives.
yeah, exactly.
So if the witch curses me, the
Yep.
rest of my life is going to be Rocky, The Lost Boys, Dazed and Confused, the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, to give it its full name, and La La Land. So I've kind of got
Brilliant.
musical, romance, drama, comedy, vampires, sports, and
Yeah.
70s hangout.
Yeah, exactly. So if the witch came along and cursed me, I will be watching Star Wars Deadly Prey 7, unless of course she's a gangster witch with a Glock, in which case it would be From Dusk Till Dawn. But let's say, for argument's sake, she is Glockless. Star Wars Deadly Prey 7. What did I say for the 2000s again? Oh, Serenity and Avengers: Infinity War. There's a big sci-fi element going on through my movies, I've just noticed. Wow. For somebody who proclaims that they're not really that into sci-fi, I've really gone heavy on the sci-fi with this one. Yeah. But that was one of the reasons I didn't want to get into Firefly, because I was like, no, I'm not a huge sci-fi fan. Unless it's blended with another genre. I mean, like, Star Wars to me is a fantasy adventure film. Yes, it's set in space, but to me it doesn't dwell. That's why I've always preferred Star Wars to Star Trek, because Star Trek is more about the science than the fiction. Whereas, Serenity's pretty full on sci-fi. I don't know. Anyway, Deadly Prey is not sci-fi though, unless you consider that no one could see a man who was hidden up a tree about 1.5 meters wearing some leaves on his arms. I mean, I guess that's some kind of like high-tech camouflage, so maybe it does have sci-fi elements. Who knows? Alrighty, well, now everyone stick around later on, because Frankie did come up with a question for this one about if Seven, the film Seven, was being made today, not remade, but if it was being made today and we were red hot casting agents, who would we pick for the roles in the films? But we will talk about it later, because initially she just left it as the two detectives, but I really wanted to cast Tracy and John Doe's characters as well. So, but we can't really talk about that without spoilers. Oh, so does that mean we'll have to do this in the spoiler section?
Well, I mean,
Well, no.
it depends
not.
how much you're going to talk about them specifically.
Well, I guess I can talk about it without mentioning who did play John Doe.
Yeah, well,
That's possible.
Yeah, because it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. We're just making our own movie, and anyone that is especially interested in who we pick,
Mm.
it's going to be because they know the movie.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly. Look, let's face it, it's nothing worth losing our heads over, okay? So, all right, how about in that case, we just get stuck into the movies that we have been watching over the last 2 weeks, which in your case is going to be a lot more than mine. But,
yeah,
yeah,
but I'll just talk about the best ones.
yeah, I'll talk about the best. Oh, no, actually, hang on, that'll be one movie. Never mind. Please continue. What have you been watching?
Well, I mentioned North Fork before because on our last episode, when I talked about 310 to Yuma and Ben Foster,
Hmm.
it reminded me because Ben Foster I first discovered in this film North Fork, which I have never met anyone who's seen or heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can report now that is no longer the case because Nobbins watched it
Yeah.
within the last fortnight as well. So, and loved it. So that
Can
was good
we
because
just.
this is the kind of movie that is hard to know if someone's going to like because
Mm,
it's very specific.
mm,
And it's a very visual film as well.
yeah.
But basically it's set in the 50s and um, in the town of North Fork, and there's like they're gonna flood the town because of like a dam. They're
Mm,
making a dam,
damn.
and so the movie follows a group of men who are going around to evacuate the last people in the town,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's also following this young sick boy who is an orphan and being cared for by the priest,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, but it's hard to explain because it's such a specific kind of humor to
Mm.
it that I guess you would vibe with or you wouldn't when it started. But yeah, I don't know how to just watch it if you can. It's very
Well, one day I will because we
good.
we should add that. Of course, you lent me the DVD, like 2.5 years ago, when we first met each other and we wanted to get to know each other and our movie taste and everything, and we lent each other like a big pile of movies, and yeah, we were quite like vigorously getting through them at first, and then we just kind of stopped. And yeah, so that is in the pile that I will one day watch and
But
finally give back to you.
yeah, it's got a pretty like great cast in this for such a not very well known film.
Mm.
Like it's got Daryl Hannah, Anthony Edwards,
Yeah, right.
Carl McLaughlin shows up for a second.
Our friend Carl
Nick
McLaughlin, who we
Nolte,
saw a movie
yes,
with.
who we saw Dune with.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
very
All right.
good. I gave it 4.5 stars because yeah, like I said, there's a feeling that like you with Seven, but completely
Mm.
different. I get a feeling when I watch this film, it's such a comfort film, and the score to it, like as soon as the score started, I was just like, oh yeah.
Mm.
And I have been listening to the score since
Okay.
then as well.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, just such a great film. So I'm glad I was in the mood that I needed a film like that on the day that I
Right,
watched it. So
right.
that was really
No,
good.
I'm definitely going to check it out at some point, but yeah, who knows when that'll be at this stage. Well, as far as the two films that I've watched, one of them, uh, please don't laugh. One of them was Parenthood, because
Why would I laugh? I love that movie.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, laughing because you've become a
yeah,
parent and you're
exactly.
watching Parenthood.
Um, it was cool because yeah, so Kylie has this big list of movies that she wants to show me, of movies that I've never seen before, and that was one of them. I'd never actually seen it, and never really been on my radar or anything. I didn't really know that much about it. And so yeah, we sat down and watched that one, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, considering that it is a movie that doesn't really have a plot in the traditional movie narrative sort of sense. It's just basically kind of a situational thing about groups of characters and what they're going through at that given time in terms of, raising children and stuff. But yeah, just a very situational sort of a film. But that wasn't a bad thing, you know. And yeah, like holy crap! I mean, I just love Steve Martin in absolutely everything, and
Yeah.
yeah, he was so great in this. I really dug seeing Keanu Reeves in this because this came out the same year as Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and so the first time you see Keanu Reeves, he's got the the same haircut that he had and everything, and it's like, oh wow! But he even was kind of acting the same, you know. Like, I mean, it's funny with that dude. Like, he is just such a brilliant human being, you know, just such a amazing person, and from what we've heard about him and everything like that. But he's really not a great actor, you know. He is really so wooden and just kind of plays himself in a lot of the same way, like, and whatnot. But that's not a bad thing, you know. I'm not saying that in any way as a criticism.
Well, I was just going to say, it's obviously worked for him because he's been working all these
Well,
years.
yeah, he's one of the most celebrated actors. Like, yeah, exactly. But, you know, I'm just watching this film and it's like, that's Ted Theodore Logan. That is not any other character. This is a Bill and Ted sequel. And then, of course, like
And... Oh, I thought you were done.
Oh, no, I was going to say, like, then, of course, you know, halfway through when he's having that relationship with Martha Plimpton's character and they shave their heads into those weird hairstyles and everything, and it's sort of like, wow, okay, that's different. But, yeah.
Yeah, and that has little cute teenage Joaquin Phoenix back when he was still Leaf. And
I know.
I had, like, the biggest crush on him when I first watched the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, because the funny thing, I saw the name Leaf Phoenix in the opening credits, and I didn't realize that he changed his name, and so I was like, oh, okay, like I'd heard of Leaf Phoenix, I didn't know who that was or anything, but and then when he's on screen, I'm like, oh my god, he looks so much like his brother, like, you know, the one that's alive. And, you know, the whole way through the film, I kept saying to Kylie, like, it is just blowing my mind how much he looks like Joaquin Phoenix, like a younger version. That is absolutely crazy. And then, yeah, she did some research on it, and she's like, yeah, you do realize that you're an idiot, right? And I was like, yes, I do. So yeah, but no, like I had a really fun time with the film, and I think because it's that sort of sitcom kind of a movie, like it's ultimately rewatchable. You know, you could just watch it whenever.
That's a movie that I rushed out and purchased straight away when it got released on Blu-ray.
Right.
Oh, it was maybe 2 years ago now or something. But I still haven't rewatched it since I got that Blu-ray, so I really need to get to that because it has been a long time since my last watch. But yeah, I've seen it a number of times.
Yeah, of course, we're going through like the first act of the film. Like there were so many times looking at all these horror situations of what kids do to you and everything. It's just the amount of times I kept saying to Kylie, like, could you maybe have shown me this movie like 2 years ago? Like, you know, like let me know what I'm about to get myself into. But anyway. Yeah, but no, there were a lot of elements to the film that I definitely related to. Yeah, so that was one of my 2 movies that I watched. What else have you got?
Well, one of my highlights was the movie Snack Shack, which I have heard about for a while, and I was hearing good things, so I was like, okay, I'll have to check out this movie.
So what is this movie?
Well, I then found out that it was directed by Adam, I don't know his name, Ray Meyer?
Okay.
Meyer? I don't know how he says it. Anyway, he's the director of Dinner in America, which is one of my favorite films that I purchased blindly after hearing about it on the Arrow video podcast, and they played a bit of the song that's like the song from the movie. And I was like, I have to watch this. And yeah, and so this is about 2 boys who are apparently 14. They
Let me guess, they look 30?
Young. No, they don't look old, but they probably, I don't know, it kind of feels like they're maybe like 16 or something.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad.
I heard a theory that maybe they're 14 just so that they can't drive, so that there's that element of the movie that they, you know... But either way, it doesn't really matter for the story what age they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, these two kids, they have all these money making schemes. Like the movie opens with them sneaking off to a greyhound racing betting and winning money, but
Mm.
the parents find out and are really angry. But they find out about the snack shack at the local swimming pool that
Mm.
every year people put in bids to run it.
Right.
So they pull their money from their gambling
Mm.
to get this thing. And so the movie just follows the summer that they are working at the snack shack at the
Okay.
pool. And there's a girl who's come to town that's a cousin of the neighbor next door to one of the boys.
Mm.
And so she's in it. And then there's this older guy. I'm not even sure in the end if he's the brother of one of them. But anyway, there's this older guy who I don't know if he. I'm not sure on the details because he's come back into town and
Mm.
it's almost like he went off to college and is coming back, but then they're talking about him choosing his major. So I
Oh,
don't know
okay.
exactly what the deal is.
Yeah,
But
right.
anyway, he has got to be one of the coolest characters of the year
Really?
in a movie.
Wow.
I thought he was so great.
Okay.
And funny. There's some
Mm.
really funny scenes. But yeah, this movie, I feel like maybe you might get something extra out of it because it's, two young best friend teenage guys.
Mm-hmm.
So that might like hit more with guys.
Yeah, yeah,
But
right.
not to say it's only for
Yeah,
guys,
of course.
but yeah, it's just such a good time
Mm-hmm.
because there is a poster for this movie that is a bit misleading in the type of movie, and I've
Mm.
heard a lot of people saying, "Don't judge it by that poster." I changed my letterbox one to a different poster
Mm-hmm.
just because, yeah, it kind of looks just a bit
Mm.
not as cool as it is.
Okay.
So yeah, two for two for this
Yeah, yeah,
director so
right.
far. So
Um,
I recommend.
okay. What else you got? Because I've only got one more movie, so we may as well let you keep going with this for a little
Let
bit.
me
Because
continue along my diary. Oh, I finally watched The Hangover,
okay, what do you think of that?
which it was fun.
Mm.
It was funny because I was reading reviews before I watched it, and
Mm.
it's one of those movies that brings out the people on Letterboxd who just have all these comments about Bradley Cooper and
Mm.
Bradley dressed in black, blah 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 blah, and I was like scoffing at them, but he actually is really charming in this movie
Yeah, right.
and stands out for that.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie surprised me by being a bit different than I thought it was going to be for a movie about a bunch of guys going to Vegas for the weekend. Although there is the end credits that kind of
Mm. Yeah,
um,
yeah, that was
showed the more typical
which was quite
things that I
cleverly done. I
expected.
thought that was a neat little
But yeah,
touch.
it was really fun. I'm gonna watch the other two.
Mm-hmm. I've not
I
seen the other two.
I had
Actually,
fun.
to be honest, I haven't seen The Hangover in a really, really long time. Yeah, probably due for a rewatch. But no, I just it was one of those things. I was kind of like, is this a story that really needs to be continued? So I just didn't bother with the
Well,
sequels.
I don't know. I read the plot for the second one,
Mm,
and it's a wedding in Hawaii, I think, and so they're all going to Hawaii for the wedding, and
right, right.
I guess stuff happens. But there's a couple of other characters that I saw the cast names from the first film, so I guess somehow these other characters turn up
Yeah,
in the
right.
same place so that more hijinks will ensue with them.
I love it when
So
hijinks ensue. That's always a good time.
I did plan to watch one this weekend. I was gonna
Mm,
do like one each weekend to get
hmm.
through it, but I had too many other things this
Yeah,
weekend. So I saw the TV Glow,
right. Which
which
I've been hearing a lot about.
yeah, I was anticipating this one because I saw the director, Jane Schoenbrunn. I saw their first film, We're All Going to the World's Fair,
Mm,
which is very different and weird in
mm,
like the best way. I
yeah.
think it might be into that. It's kind of got a 90s feel. It's kind of got some like internet stuff, but it's
Mm,
also yeah, anyway, I don't know how to describe it. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I just remember being
mm.
surprised how different it was
Right, right.
than your normal movie.
Mm-hmm.
So when I heard about this one, plus it's got Bridget Lundy Payne in it, who For anyone who's seen the show Atypical will know she is the best character in that. She was the main guy's sister.
Why do I know? Oh, she was in Bill and Ted Face the Music. I'm
Oh
thinking to
yeah,
myself, how do I know that name? Yeah. No, I
yeah,
remember her from. She was one of their daughters. I can't remember which one now. It's been a while since I've seen it.
yeah. I'd
Yeah,
forgotten about that. And
yeah,
yeah, so it's nice to see her pop up in this.
yeah. Right.
So yeah, this movie it's kind of like an allegory for like the trans experience because the director is trans,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think it works well for anybody that just feels kind of like they don't fit in with the world in general,
Mm-hmm.
which is me. And so when you just feel like you're really different from like the sort of normal people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, but it's yeah. So these two teens are well, one finds out about this show called The Pinko Pake
Right.
that yeah, Bridget Lundy Payne's character, who is Maddie,
Mm-hmm.
she's really into it, and then he gets drawn into it, and it just kind of follows over his teenage years. I think he's like 13 or I don't know, something young. They talk about what grade they're in. I don't know American grades.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can't remember, but it follows over time and he watches this show and gets really into it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's also got a couple of musical performances in it,
Mm-hmm.
which was really funny because there's one main song that plays and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I looked at the end credits to see who the band was, and it was Sloppy Jane, and I'm like, I found them randomly from a playlist.
Ah, okay.
And I almost bought one of their albums, but the last song has lyrics about kicking a dog till it dies.
Oh.
So I don't want to own that album as pretty as other songs are. But then they also had this other woman just do a short thing, and that
Mm-hmm.
really stood out to me. And so that turned out to be a band called King Woman, and I straight away listened to their album
Mm-hmm.
after I watched the movie, and then I purchased it, and it
Okay.
actually arrived today.
Right, right.
So yeah, so that was really cool. There's some good music in this,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's the same kind of vibe of just being different, like as
Yeah.
far as visuals and mood and everything. So it's
Okay.
just always really nice to get films like this
Mm.
come along that are just obviously a director's vision.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Look, I'm going to jump in here. Yeah. So, just this afternoon, we thought, hey, let's see if we get time to watch a movie, and we almost didn't, but we thought, all right. So Kylie was saying to me, okay, what are we going to watch? And I said, look, we've got a whole bunch of movies from this year that I would probably like to get one of those out of the way. So I suggested In a Violent Nature, which is supposedly a horror film set.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about it.
And I thought the premise sounded amazing. It was this film that's set from the perspective of the killer, who's sort of like a Jason Voorhees style silent, tank, basically, just an absolute killing machine. And I just thought, yeah, that sounds so cool. Like, I'd love to see that. Yeah, my God, it was one of the most fucking boring movies. We both sort of started nodding off throughout the film, and that's not because of lack of sleep and everything. That was just because this film is boring. What I didn't really think about was doing a film from the perspective of a killer who is like a Jason Voorhees style murderer. Like, there are so many scenes where you're just following him along walking. I'm not kidding. Like, for several minutes, just walking through woods, across fields, around lakes, that sort of thing. Like, and now I know we've had this discussion before about slow burn movies. Look, I am fine with slow burning movies as long as there is something interesting going on.
Feel like I haven't seen this, but I feel like maybe slow burn is not the right descriptor for that.
Exactly.
And it's more like experimental.
No, I
Perhaps
would
in
just say
not
boring as
experimental
shit.
in filmmaking, but like experimental in style,
Like,
perhaps. And just the whole thing of having scenes of walking, so it's kind of like a meditative experience within a movie, kind of.
I didn't get that. But, like, for instance, there's a scene where
I'm just guessing.
you've got your typical scene where there's, two girls on a jetty, one of them's jumping into the water, and stuff. And so you see Johnny, or whatever the hell his name was, standing on the other side of the lake, looking out at them, and you think, okay, it's going to be cool. So then, he starts walking and just submerges underneath the water. And you sort of always think, like, well, actually, I think, no, yeah, you sort of always wonder, like, when Jason is under the water, like, what's he doing? Like, is he walking along or whatever? So anyway, this dude just goes under the water and disappears. And that shot stays there for so goddamn long. You're just vaguely hearing the voices of the girls on the other side of the lake, or whatever, but it just stays there, and it's just like, okay, come on, like, we get it, like, just get to the next thing. Like, there was just too much of that, there was,
It feels like a Skinamarink kind of movie where there's a lot of not stuff going on, and some people are gonna be like, oh, this is crap, nothing's happening, and other people are gonna be into it.
yeah,
Perhaps. I don't know, I haven't seen Skinamarink yet either.
but they didn't do this film in that kind of, experimental style or anything. Like, they, crafted it.
No, but I just mean like in theme and storytelling, like they obviously made a conscious decision to have all these long shots of just like,
oh, there's no doubt,
sitting
yeah.
there and nothing happening.
Yeah, I know, but come on, that does not make an entertaining film.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, that's what I mean by experimental. Well, maybe I'm using it wrong, but just in the way that they made a film like
a
that.
sensory kind of a thing. Yeah, look, I get where you're coming from. I just didn't get that at all. I thought it could have been interesting, like it really had potential, and and there were...
Was that one kill that everyone goes on about the kill of the year?
Oh, hell yes. To the film.
So maybe I just need to like wait for it to come to streaming and just fast forward, find out the timestamp for that, and just go to that part.
It was spectacular. It is so over the top. It's ridiculous. I was laughing my ass off, but it was one of those. It more belonged in something like Jason X, sort of a parody horror film, which again kind of made it feel a bit out of place.
It's more over the top rather than horrific.
Oh,
not
yeah.
Not like Terrifier 2.
No,
like
it
kill.
is so goddamn over the top. And I've...
Okay.
Hats off.
I wasn't sure how people meant it.
Yeah.
When
no,
I
my
was
hat went off to the
comments.
filmmakers. Like, it was so creative, and I've never seen anything like it before. But even then, there's like a scene where it's not a plot spoiler. Like, one of the kills, like Johnny, paralyzes somebody, drags them into this work shed or whatever, like a huge work shed with this industrial logging axe on it. But even then, like, I'm not kidding. He starts dragging the body along. I'm sitting there, like, and I'm just sort of like getting sleepier and everything. And I actually kind of closed my eyes and stuff. And then, like, I opened my eyes. He's still dragging the body along, like, I'm just like, oh my freaking God. But yeah, the whole dismemberment scene, just like, it just took too long. He's just, chopping off one bit and then chopping off another. And like, the fact that you sort of see him, like, dragging the body up and positioning it properly and making sure it's all right and everything, like, you don't need to see all that stuff. Like, just move it along.
It sounds like that's probably the point.
If it is, it wasn't for me. Yeah, if anything, the one thing that came out of it to me that was the best thing of all was Kylie's review, where she's put 4 sleepy emojis. Is it still going? Lots of question marks, and then 4 sleepy emojis again. Oh man, and she said to me, she looked all very proud of herself. She's like, "Oh, did you see my letterbox review?" I was like, "No, no, no," and I had a look. Oh my god, man, I was in hysterics when I read that. It just sums up the film so perfectly. Just like sleep. Is it still going? Sleep. That was perfect. So yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
I have moved this to my low priority list
look.
after the like seeing what people are saying about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It
yeah. Like you and I, we're so in sync with our movie taste, and I honestly would be really surprised if you came back from this one and said, "Oh my god, what are you talking about? This was such a great film." Yeah, I don't ever want to watch it again. I will most likely forget about it by next week. And yeah, it sounded good in words. Like I really thought it was a great idea, but the execution, pardon the pun, was just yeah, absolutely awful. So there you go, epic fail. Yeah.
well, a quick mention for just because this film's too good to not mention.
Mm.
I rewatched The Lobster
Mm-hmm.
this week, Yorgos Lanthimos film, which it's been a long time since I watched it, and I had always had that as my favorite of his films.
Mm.
And because it had been so long, I'd forgotten parts of it. So I watched it again, and yes, so good.
Yeah.
What's funny is I've read a lot of reviews from people saying how bleak it is,
Mm.
and that they might not want to watch it again because it's so bleak.
Mm-hmm.
And I just found that really interesting because I think it's really funny, especially the first half.
Right.
I was laughing out loud at some things happening,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I'm on the wavelength with the humor
Mm-hmm.
and the weirdness of it. It's a film of two halves. It kind of the plot takes a big turn in the second half, and it's not as interesting as the first half. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, I still like the first half. I'd be tempted to go like a full 5 stars,
Mm-hmm.
but because the second half is not as good,
Yeah.
I've taken it down a bit. But
Okay.
yeah, I have to rewatch The Favourite because I haven't seen it since at the cinema. But that's the only rival that The Lobster may have for being my favourite Lanthimos film.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, I think to this day, yeah, Poor Things is the only yogurt film that I've seen, isn't it? I'm pretty sure.
Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Oh, I saw Killing of a Sacred Deer. That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
that was really good. So yeah, yeah, I should
So
probably
yeah,
check
I'd
out
be
more of his
interested
films.
to see what you think of The Lobster and The Favourite because I think they are
Mm.
better than those two
Okay.
films.
Well, in about 10 years' time, when I get to watch movies again, I will endeavour to check it out.
And
Yeah.
I'll just mention my other rewatch before I talk about my cinema
Sure.
visits. I rewatched Twister yesterday because
Ah,
I
yeah.
am very excited about Twisters coming
Mm-hmm.
out. I have expectations.
Mm.
It is a modern film, so I like the original Twister. I love it's so much fun, but they
Mm.
don't make movies like that anymore. So I'm not
Yeah.
expecting, but I'm just hoping that it's going to be a really fun movie because, well, I mean, the effects are going to be better because they did the best they could in the
Oh,
90s,
of
but it
course.
was the 90s.
Yeah.
The cast is really good,
Mm-hmm.
and Glenn Powell, who's having a fun time being in cinemas everywhere at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
or Hitman. My Hitman went to a few cinemas. And Kiernan Shipka's in it, and that Brendan Perea, the like best thing about the movie Nope.
Oh, okay.
He's in
Right.
it.
Right. Yep. Yep.
So yeah, and I had forgotten in the original film how awesome Philip Seymour Hoffman is
Mm.
and his character, just the like over the top weirdo fun guy
Right.
that blasts music from his truck
Mm.
and stuff. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
really fun to revisit it. And 90s Helen Hunt is like, I don't know, it's one of those full nostalgia things. I used to really love the show Mad About
Mm-hmm.
You, and so I just
Mm.
seeing her in the 90s, there's just something about it that's just got that nostalgia
Yeah.
thing there.
Yeah, no, I'll have to rewatch that film at some point because I saw it when it came out in the cinemas, and I enjoyed it. I've got a feeling I've seen bits of it on TV sometimes when it's on, and you'll be channel surfing, and it's like, oh, Twister, and just sort of kind of half watch it. But yeah, I've never sat down and given it a full rewatch before. So yeah, I've really got to revisit, especially with the sequel
Yeah.
coming out. So
Well,
yeah.
it's a standalone sequel, so you don't have to watch
Yeah.
beforehand. I was reading up on it, and I think the main character is the daughter of Helen Hunt. So I think like that's the connection, but the story is completely separate. So I guess it's one of those things that she might mention stuff, and you will know about it if you've seen the old movie, but it's
Yeah.
not going to relate to anything, is what it sounds like it's going to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
But yeah, and so I went to the cinema on Friday and
How dare
I
you go without
saw.
me? What?
I would have gone with you if you could have come.
Yeah, I know. Especially because
Um,
this is a movie I really want to see.
yeah, A Quiet Place Day One,
Oh, damn it.
which I have heard only good things about. Like, I haven't heard anyone. I don't know if I just follow the best people, but I haven't seen anyone say they didn't like it. Everyone said really good things about it. But even with that, it still turned out to be better than I expected it to be.
Wow.
And it's one of my favorite movies of this year
Woohoo.
now. It's in my top three.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just so good. The alien stuff is creepy and they stay scary for the whole film
Right. Right.
whenever they're around. There's a really cool scene that's like a wide shot of the city and they're crawling up the buildings
Oh,
like
okay.
spiders.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very cool.
Oh.
But yeah, it's just so great. And the characters, actually, I meant to look up. I didn't watch a trailer for this. I saw the teaser that was originally released way back, but I never watched the proper trailer, so I don't know if it gave it away in the trailer. But from the opening scene, I picked up on something that I didn't know, and so it just kind of changed the whole movie.
Oh,
'cause
okay,
I'm
right.
like, oh, how's the movie going to go with this? And I don't want to say what it is now
Yeah,
because
fair
I don't
enough.
know if they mentioned it in the trailer or not. And oh, you know what? I guess it doesn't matter because it's the opening scene of the movie.
Yeah, go for it. Come on.
The movie opens like in a hospice,
Oh,
and
spoiler.
that is where our main character is. So
Oh,
I was
okay,
like,
right.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. So how is her journey gonna go?
Yeah, yeah, okay. Oh, interesting.
And yeah, so that added really different. I mean, it made her so different from the typical character in a film like this. And Joseph Quinn was really good in it. I loved him in Stranger Things. I loved Eddie, which apparently is a controversial opinion. But he was like full on metalhead, long hair and everything. So I was like, oh, how does he gonna be as a different character?
Yeah, right.
And turns out the answer is really good. But he also felt like a really normal person
Okay.
for this type of movie because, you know, you've got like War of the Worlds I mentioned earlier. You've got Tom Cruise, you know, save the day with
Yeah.
all this stuff happening. Whereas in this, you've got a guy who's like full on freaking out because aliens have suddenly invaded like in the middle of the day when everyone's just going about their lives.
Yeah,
So
okay.
yeah, there's that. And there's Frodo the cat.
Yeah, now I'm interested because I saw your letterbox thing. The poster you've got has a big kitty cat face on it, and in your
Yeah,
review you
I
said this
picked the
movie's going to
Frodo
be
poster.
good for people who love cats. I love
Yeah.
cats. I am that person. So yeah,
Yeah, main character has a service cat called Frodo, and so he's one of the main three characters in the film.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I look, if anybody out there wants to look after my kids for a couple of hours at some point, like so I can go to the movies, feel free to get in touch with me.
Yeah, if you ever did manage to find anyone to look after the kids, I don't know if you can even at this stage, but yeah, it is a good one to see at the cinema because of the sound thing, obviously,
Yeah, of
but
course.
also because of how creepy the aliens are. So stuff like that is always good in a cinema
Yeah,
environment.
I've just noticed the top two reviews on Letterboxd. The top one says, "Give Frodo the cat an Academy Award,"
Yeah.
and the second one says, "My mental well-being was entirely dependent on whether the cat was going to survive." OMG!
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, apparently this cat is winning hearts around the world.
Yes.
Yeah,
well deserved.
I thought it was interesting because, like, I love the first two Quiet Place films, and I thought it was interesting that the second one left it on kind of a cliffhanger that the story could be continued from there. And so when I heard there was a new Quiet Place film coming out, I was like, oh my God, yes, get to find out what happened. And then they make it a prequel. It's like, hang on a second. Like,
I think the third one is still planned. I think I saw that when I watched the second one.
Yeah, right.
And then they were doing this prequel as well.
Okay.
But, that's actually really interesting because I tried to look up how to pronounce this name and I found 2 different ways and he didn't correct either person, so I still don't know which way is the correct way. But Jimon Honsu?
Well,
Hansu?
I think it's Hansu.
Jimon
Look,
Hansu?
I'm pretty sure it's Jimon Hansu. Look, that's how it's spelt, so that's how we're going to say it.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So he's in this film, and me being stupid,
what?
I completely forgot that he was in the second film.
Right.
And then I was talking about it with people at work who are all in agreement, as am I, as am other people I have seen, that this is the best in the franchise so far.
Wow.
I was like, the way the movie ends, I was like, I want to see what's going to happen next. Later, because obviously next is the first film. And that's when my friend pointed out, they're like, hey, but he's the guy on the island.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot. So we do get his story, but then I wonder if the third film has more.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to I'm gonna have to look if that's still happening and if there's any work being done on it, that it has some kind of timeline rather than just being announced.
Yeah, that was the thing, because when the second one was over and done with, and a lot of people were sort of saying, "Oh, I wonder if there's going to be a third one," and I was always of the opinion, well, they've left it so open, and like I said, on a cliffhanger, so they've got to finish it. I'm pretty
sure I saw that when I watched it.
Yeah. I'm just looking on Letterboxd. There is a Quiet Place Part 3 that's been listed, but I don't know if that's like an official announcement or anything.
Usually, if they have one listed there, it's like they get their info from somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's been announced, but whether it's in production or has anything happening yet is the question.
If by chance John Krasinski is listening to this podcast, which, let's face it, I mean, there's a pretty strong chance he might be, get your act together, sir. Hurry up and, get your finger out, make the third part.
Well, I mean, it want it. Has cast attached, so...
Yeah, but...
There is hope.
So do a lot of people with broken limbs. Get it? Have a cast attached?
Yeah. I highly recommend going to see this film, and I love that the aliens stayed scary, and I love that the characters were, I loved all, because you got 3 main characters, including Frodo the cat, and I loved all of them, and I loved the journey that they had, and I was very satisfied with the ending.
Well,
so
there you go. Well,
that's why I gave it 4.5 stars.
Wow.
And I ever since have wanted to go see it again. And I have so many other movies to see. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if I have the chance...
Pace yourself, woman.
I may go see it again.
Yeah.
And so on Saturday, I'll just quickly mention I did also go see Horizon, An American Saga Chapter 1, Kevin Costner's new film that's obviously the start of a series of films.
Right.
And having recently watched Assassination of Jesse James and 3:10 to Yuma, I was fully in the mood for a Western.
Yeah.
So I went to see that, and it was really good. It was 3 hours, but it didn't feel like it. And yeah, it's really interesting. It's obviously setting up chapter 1, so you don't get a resolution to your stories that it's setting up, but it was a lot more straightforward than I thought, than what some people were saying. You're not following that many different stories I wasn't confused about I think there's three or four main stories that I remember.
Okay.
But yeah, it was really interesting, really great cast. There was so many people that I knew, and then so many people that I just knew their faces.
Mm-hmm.
So on my way home, I'm like looking up the cast and going, "Oh, that was that person. That was that person."
Right,
But
right.
yeah, I thought it was really good, and I look forward to seeing part two in August. And
Excellent.
they're filming part three apparently.
Okay.
So I don't know how quickly that's gonna come out and what's going on with that.
Yeah,
But
right.
yeah.
Cool. Well, look, yeah, like I said, you saw a lot more movies than I did, so yeah, lucky you.
Yeah, and I am going to see, I'm booked in with a friend to see Twisters on Friday night, and
Excellent.
then I will be making plans with another friend to see Kinds of Kindness at some stage on this weekend, and I have to see The Bike Riders because things didn't work out to see it last weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm going to skip Maxine because
Eh.
I didn't like Pearl very much,
Same.
and X was fine,
Yeah.
but not like
I think that'll be one for
amazing.
streaming.
And I've heard a lot of not so great things about Maxine, so I'm going to save my money and see that one
Yeah,
later.
fair enough. Alrighty, so I guess that concludes all the other films that we've seen outside of our homework movies. But speaking of homework movies, let's get stuck into that. Starting with the greatest film ever made that doesn't have the word Star Wars in it, Seven. This movie. So, let me cast you back to 1995. So I was working in a cinema, and a friend of mine and I, we had heard about this movie coming out, and Brad Pitt was just like the biggest thing at that point. I think Legends of the Fall had just been before that, and we were just all in absolute awe of this godlike man with his long flowing locks and his manly ways, and like in a completely hetero sort of way, we were all like, oh, we want to be this man. And so, this movie Seven came out, and we're like, what the hell? He's cut his hair. Wow, this is interesting. But yeah, this friend of mine and I were like, okay, like this movie looks kind of cool. Let's go check it out. So I'm never going to forget this as long as I live. We watched the movie. By the end of the film, when the credits are rolling down the screen, we were both just, we didn't say a word. We were kind of just catatonic. And the credits finished, Heart's Filthy Lesson by David Bowie had played through and everything. And we just kind of looked at each other. We got up, we walked out of the cinema, still didn't say a word to each other. Got out into the parking lot, we got in the car, and then we finally started talking. That is the impact that this film has had on me since day freaking one. I don't think any other movie in the history of cinema has had an effect like that on me. And I just couldn't believe what I had seen. It, to me, was a horror film. I will defend that till the day I die. This is a horror film. So for those who haven't seen it, Brad Pitt is a detective who is sort of assigned to this new case with older detective who's 7 days away from retirement, played by Morgan Freeman. And they come across a series of murders based on the seven deadly sins. And yeah, it's kind of really difficult to sort of say too much more, because the ending of this film, look, if you haven't seen it, you probably know about the ending of the film. It's so famous. We're not going to spoil it here, but yeah, so as they sort of go on, they become more sort of connected to the killer in a way, who and who starts sort of messing with them in a lot of ways. But it's more about the gruesomeness of the kills. But the best part is, with this film, you never see any of the violence. It's always the aftermath, and you hear about things, and your imagination is so much worse than anything that could have been shown on screen. Now look, I'm going to hand it over to you, because otherwise I am going to be sitting here talking about this film for like an hour and a half. So what are your thoughts on Seven? What's your history with the film?
I have only seen this the one time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, My memory sucks. I don't know. It was on TV. I don't know if
Right,
it
right.
was like the video store or actually on TV.
Mm,
I don't remember.
hmm.
Don't know when I saw it. I guess it was probably in the late 90s
Mm.
sometime. I don't know. But yeah, and I hadn't got around to watching it again, which is kind of good. And my crap memory comes in handy sometimes. So there was a lot of stuff in this that I didn't remember
Excellent.
because it had been so long
Hmm.
since I've seen it, which I guess 20 years is fine to forget stuff.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I only really remembered the ending
Hmm.
in detail. But what's really funny was I watched this on Sunday morning and it was a rainy day.
Right,
And
right.
so I thought, oh, this is a good time to watch a thriller kind of movie. And it actually kind of made it worse because this movie, like, it's raining nearly the whole
Yeah.
movie. And everything looks so grimy and
Mm.
dirty and horror. Like, even where, like, Brad Pitt's character lives, the apartment that they found,
Mm.
just the way the walls look and everything. I think Morgan Freeman's character, what's his name,
William Somerset.
Somerset.
Hmm.
His place looks okay,
Mm.
and the police station's just like a office kind of
Mm.
thing. But nearly every other location just looks terrible, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's pouring with rain when people are outside for
Hmm.
most of the scenes, and so yeah, it kind of made it worse to watch it on a rainy day. I just really felt the gloominess of it, which
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
it's
And
kind of fun, but yeah, really good production
the
design.
final scene takes place on a Sunday as well, so that was an appropriate day
Yeah.
for you to watch it.
And was that the only time it's not raining?
There is one single shot in the film when Mills and Somerset are in a police car talking about the time, like, have you ever drawn your gun before and
Mm,
stuff. There's just this one moment where the sun shines in it. But yeah,
mm.
aside from the ending, like, that is the only time the rain kind of stops for a moment. And yeah, this demonstrates how many times I've seen this film because I know these things. So, actually, I'm just looking up. So Darius Konji, who did the cinematography in it, also did the cinematography for what's that movie?
Okja,
Okja.
yeah.
Yeah, he did the
I'd say Okja.
cinematography in that as well.
Huh.
Which I just thought, I don't know, thought I'd mention that. But anyway, there you go. Yeah, look, oh my God, every single thing about this film. So the, I, to me, this is an absolute masterclass in tone. Like, it retains the tone the whole way through, even when you get moments of sort of levity, and I wouldn't say comedic moments, but when the characters are kind
Mm.
of lighthearted, it still feels depressing. And yeah, that cinematography, like its notorious brown look, which is a David Fincher thing, because a lot of his films, like The Game, I think Alien 3, I think also kind of had that brown sort of tone. But it just suits it so much in this film. But yeah,
Mm.
the production design is out of this world. From that opening, like the opening credits in this film were so influential on a dozen other thriller films after this.
Also, watching old films is fun because you get opening credits.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, I miss that sometimes. And, like, you watch an old movie and then you see the names come up, and sometimes you're like, oh, that person's in it. And
Mm,
yeah, modern movies now, like, quite often you just get the title of the movie
yeah,
and that's it.
exactly.
And I
If
kind
that.
of miss opening
But
credits sometimes.
how amazing are the credits of this, and
Yeah,
especially.
and the
Mm,
music, you can tell it's mid 90s, hasn't got to the late 90s because it's just kind of getting into the electronic thing, but it's
mm.
not going as hard with it as the late
Well, you don't
90s
even
movies
realize
do.
that it's a remix of Closer by Nine Inch Nails until that end where he's like,
Mm.
"You get me closer to God," and it's like, "Oh shit, is that what I was listening to?" And they've got actually that full version is on. It's actually on Spotify, but it was a B side of the Closer single back in the '90s. But yeah, actually, I'll just digress for a sec because it was funny. A group of friends and I in the '90s, we used to have. Well, I had this collection of these rubber dart guns. So there were these pistols that fired, like rubber darts with suction cups on them. And we used to do this thing. One of my friends, actually the same guy who I went and saw Seven with, He lived in this really big house, and so we used to have these rubber dart gun battles where what you'd have to do, we'd turn nearly all the lights off, crank some music, and it was everyone for themselves. You'd basically just have to navigate your way around his house, and if you get shot, you'd have to lie down on the ground. You're dead. So it was basically, kind of like a laser tag thing almost, but like the last person standing was the winner. So we used to always put music on, but one night I remember I put that Closer remix on, and we had to stop. We were so fucking terrified because that music is so goddamn creepy. It sets the tone for the film being played in that opening credit sequence. Like that first moment where that bass hit comes in, that boom, and you just, oh man, that's just
like
gives me chills.
The music from It Follows.
Right.
Like when you play that album on its own and just listen to it, it's really hard to listen to because it's so creepy.
Yeah. Well, we did. Yeah, we were like in the middle of this rubber dart gun fight, and like this song came on. We're just all like, someone was just like, "Hang on, guys, can we seriously? No, we can't do this. Like it's in the dark and everything. It's like, nah. That's what nightmares are made of." But no, it's the opening credits was so brilliant in Seven because you don't know what you're looking at the first time you see it, and then it's not till later on after you've seen the film and you go back and rewatch it. It's like, oh, that's why John Doe doesn't have fingerprints and stuff like that, and just the crafting of the diary books and everything. Like, yeah, it was extremely brilliant. But then, yeah, like I said, you're just thrown into it. It's raining. You're introduced to the character of Mills, who comes across as, he sort of seems to me like a bit of an asshole without actually meaning to be. Like, he's just very brash and hot-headed.
He's just, that type of guy. And I think, what is it? He's done 5 years in homicide before he transferred. And then he's been treated like the new guy and not getting to, like, being told to go door knock rather than stay in the crime scene
exactly.
and everything. So there's that kind of friction between the two detectives.
Yeah. But I love the nuances in his performance. I love, if you watch his hand movements, he kind of does a lot of things with his hands, and the way that he talks it's not like Brad Pitt. He acted the fuck out of this role. And just little moments, like when they're investigating the gluttony crime, the very first one, and Somerset says to Mills, tells him to go door knocking or whatever. And there's just that moment where, Brad Pitt just shines the torch like right in his face for a few seconds or whatever before he goes, and it's just, there's these little things, that you can watch this movie over and over again and still pick up little things that, like when he hands the officer on duty that cup of coffee out the front of the house, it's like just little weird moments. I love that they kind of hint at a lot of things, like, you can tell that Mills is like this massive basketball fan because one of his ties that he wears is a basketball tie, and there's a bit where he's watching a game on TV, and like, you sort of get shown this stuff without it being like really too over the top. You learn a lot. Like, they're really well fleshed out characters is what I'm trying to say. What are you laughing at?
I'm just the way you're so into that character.
I warned you.
Looking at his tie and putting it into like a big personality description.
Well, it is. No, it's brilliant writing. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, they tell you a lot about these characters. The way that Somerset, has a switchblade with a dartboard in his room and stuff. Like, you kind of think like, what kind of person does that? It's really interesting. There's so many facets of this film that I just find fascinating. Do you want to know the like best line in the movie? Of course.
One of the funniest things that you almost makes you go, you can't believe, like, who came up with that? What's the thing? When they're sitting there with the police captain, boss guy, talking about the case, and then the phone starts ringing at the desk.
This is not even my desk.
The captain's sitting it, and he just picks it up and just says, "This is not even my desk," and hangs up.
So many
and it's
people
just
love that line.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's just so random and weird that it's a
It
thing
is.
there.
It is. Got to hand it to Ali Ermy who played. Because have you ever seen Full Metal Jacket?
No.
Okay, he became famous for that film because they cast him as a drill instructor in the film, but he was actually a drill instructor in real life, and so he wasn't acting in Full Metal Jacket. But you've got to watch that film, if anything, just for his performance because he is such a savage to these, GIs and everything. Like the insults that he comes up with on the spot and everything is just amazing. There's probably a YouTube video of the best of Ali Ermy from that film. We've got to find out later and I'll send it to you. But yeah, so that
No, I'm
was.
not. No, I don't want to watch a highlights video of a
Oh,
movie I
fair
haven't seen.
enough. But yeah, no, I thought there's actually, yeah, like you had Richard Roundtree, John C. McGinley in all these little roles. Michael Massey was in it, who was also Fun Boy in The Crow. So
Because he came on screen and I was like, I know you, you're so familiar.
yeah,
And he really stood
yeah,
out
yeah,
for having, like one scene pretty much
exactly,
in the
yeah.
movie.
Oh
But
yeah,
I saw his name at the end, but I didn't look
right,
up
right.
where I
Well,
knew him
yeah,
from.
because he is in my second and third favorite movie of all time. And what's his name? Leland Orser, I believe the guy's name is the guy who wound up having sex with the prostitute with the giant knife. There's so many people in these little roles in the film, which I just thought was amazing. But yeah, to me, like I said, I like what would you say? Like, is this a horror film to you?
Well, it's horror in that way of, it's about serial killer stuff
Mm,
and some really full-on crime. So
mm,
it's horror in horrific things happening
mm.
kind of way.
Yeah, yeah. I sort of look at John Doe as like a movie monster in a way, That guy is just the insanity in that character is mind blowing. And the things that he does are horrific, but I think it's also the fact that it could easily happen. I mean, this movie is
Oh, well, yeah, there's
very
lots
reality
of
based.
killers that are like that.
Yeah, yeah. And the fact that, he like turns these things into an art form, I mean, like, yeah, that whole thing of cutting a woman's nose off and destroying her face and then gluing a phone in one hand, sleeping pills in the other, and she's got the choice, she can either kill herself or call for help. And just the sort of whole moral thing, the situations that this guy puts people in, I think, is where a lot of the horror lies. Like I said, the guy who has sex with the prostitute with a gigantic blade strap on. I mean, can you imagine like what that must be like? That's the thing. This is what I mean. This movie plays on your imagination in so many dark and twisted ways.
That's a pretty interesting thing, though. Like, would you kill someone else to stay alive?
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, I mean, let's face it, most of us probably would. If you had a.
I wouldn't.
You can say that now in the
How?
comfort of your
Yeah,
living
but
room.
how could you live the rest of your life that you murdered someone?
I don't know. But that's the thing. As human beings, we do have this primal survival instinct. It's just, that's
Yeah,
science. And
I,
so I don't know. It's the sort of thing you could not
yeah,
say yes or no unless you were in that situation. I don't think anyway. Like, I would love to say no, there's no way I would, have sex with a woman with a gigantic blade strapped to me. But if I was in that moment where someone had a gun to my head and said, you are going to die, like, I mean, I would be thinking about my children growing up without a father and all of these sort of things, and I'd be like,
yeah. Choose your over a woman.
sorry, hooker, but let's get it on. Do you want some lubricant with that?
So having kids makes you a murderer.
Exactly. No, but even then, look, even if I didn't have kids, I mean, I love life. But there is that whole thing of course, you'd have to live with that because I think
you're taking someone else's.
that performance by Leland Orser, where he's in the interrogation room and everything, was amazing. Like, it's bone chilling. Like every performance in this film, I think, is exceptional. This to me is David Fincher's best work. There's no question about that.
I was surprised though. Watching this, Gwyneth Paltrow's character, just, I don't know. I thought there would be more to her, I guess.
Yeah, but I thought it before. Actually, we've just had a message from Nobbins on the side, which says, I know Gwyneth Paltrow is a massive dick, but her performance in Seven is quite magnificent, which sounds very intellectual. Thank you, Nobbins. And I agree. I thought her performance was great. She... especially in that scene where she and Somerset are in the cafe and she has that revelation about something to do with her character. And yeah, her performance in that scene I thought was amazing. She really, she just came across so authentically down. She just didn't like her situation in life and all this sort of stuff, but which just, adds to things later on. I'll just say that. We're going to have a lot to talk about in the spoiler section for this film, by the way. I also, interestingly enough, so Andrew Kevin Walker, who wrote the script, I was just reminded of this. He is... Oh, no, hang on. Okay, it says dead man at first crime scene. I always thought that meant he was the enormous fat guy, but... No, there was the first crime scene in the film. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud now. I'm just actually realizing things for the first time myself. So there you go. Anyway, there you go. That was him. So what brought this film down? What didn't make it a perfect film for you?
I think I don't know. It's maybe just a bit too grimy.
Yeah.
To really fully get there.
I mean, you gave it 4.5, which is still
it's still
good.
An amazing film. But I just I don't know. I'm very I'm very choosy with my 5-star ratings.
Of course. Look, if I did have to criticize it, if that witch came along and held the gun sideways to my head, I do think it was a bit of a stretch that, okay, so John Doe had planned, this thing meticulously that, in the lawyer's office, they would find the next clue to go to the next thing, which would take them to the next thing. And, they find the sloth victim 1 year to the day after he had been captured and stuff like that. I mean, that's like... That's really relying on a lot of things falling into place for that to happen, because if they hadn't asked the lawyer's wife, in that moment, like if anything was different, she said, oh, the painting, it's upside down. And then they went and found that. Like, it relied on a lot of luck, which, okay, it could happen that way. But, I think that was sort of more something to just make sure the plot keeps going forward, which is fine. Like, I can't criticize the film based on that, but obviously we can't talk about the ending right now, but the ending of this film just is perfection.
There's one thing about the ending that makes me laugh.
Laugh?
Yeah.
Can you talk about it here, or do we have to wait?
Well, it's just the way that a line's delivered.
Oh yeah.
It just made me laugh.
Can you tell us what that line is?
Well, it was Brad Pitt, so you know what line it is.
What's in the box? That one?
Yeah.
I'll look. Everybody knows
and
that
just
line.
the just that whiny kid voice really just made me laugh.
It is actually I don't know. I think every time I watch it,
and because he says it a few times.
Yeah.
Well,
I think though, like every time I get to that moment, I'm just like, I am so engrossed in what's going on and so traumatized that I can't exactly, chuckle at it, but I get where you're coming
Oh,
from.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I remembered, so
Mm,
I I don't remember what I thought the first time I saw it. I don't know if I even had already known what
mm.
it was before I watched the movie
Yeah, yeah,
because I don't
right.
remember that first viewing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I will never till the day I die. I will never forget that first time seeing it because, yeah, it was just the weirdest thing walking out, and I'm just thinking to myself like, because we were just that rattled that I remember thinking like, should I say something? I don't know what to say. Like I'm just gonna shut up. And obviously he was thinking the same thing. We were just both stunned. Um, yeah. So.
it's funny how much you feel movies
Oh
sometimes,
yeah, yeah. But that's what I mean.
and I
Like,
mean you specifically when I say
yeah,
that.
no, I totally get that. But no, that's why this film has the biggest place in my heart because, yeah, to me it is just perfect. I can watch it over. I could easily watch this film 365 days in a row for an entire year. Like,
Oh no, I couldn't. It's too grimy.
yeah,
I just
you'd have to
just the
shower every
feeling of
time.
it. I'm like, I just don't want to be in that feeling
Yeah,
every
yeah.
day for a
But I
year.
see that. Yeah, but that's the thing. I love the griminess of it. I love the
I mean, I like
depression.
it, but not every day.
Yeah,
That's that. How depressed would you be watching this every day for a
actually,
year?
yeah. The I don't know. Try having children and not getting sleep. Yeah.
I mean, you watch a movie like Encino Man or
Hmm.
something, that's going to make you happy every day.
Well, maybe I should do Seven and
Alternate.
Encino Man for an entire year. Like, oh, that is almost a.
I see people do
Hmm.
that on Letterbox.
Yeah.
They pick a movie and watch it every day for a year, and I'm like, as much
Hmm.
as I love any movie, and I watched Encino Man every day for a
Hmm.
week, like every day for a year.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah. I don't know.
that's
If I had the
there's too
time.
many movies to spend
Well,
the
yeah. See,
time
that's
every
very
day
true.
on the same one.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. But yeah, look, in to summarize, yeah, best film ever as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, and you just can't take that away from me. And
And this, like Twister, like it's just they were really doing something with movies in the
oh,
90s.
were they
Like
ever?
it's like perfect 90s thriller
Mm,
type movie,
mm-hmm,
just like Twister's the perfect fun adventure nature
mm-hmm.
movie.
Yeah.
And you just there's just a different feeling. I don't know if it's how they were filmed or just directors being able to do more of what they want with less
Mm.
from the studios, but they just like if you tried to do a movie, not this movie, but if you just
Mm.
tried to do a movie like this now,
Mm.
like it's going to be completely different. It's
Mm.
like so many movies of the 90s, it's like you're not going to get that tone back. I
Oh
guess
yeah.
that's a thing with all decades, but
Yeah.
yeah, you just
Well, it's like we've said in
when you watch
past.
something like this, I guess there's so many tropes now that
Mm.
get done in every movie. They're less about being really inventive and
Exactly. And we've had this conversation in previous episodes where, you look at the best picture Oscar winners over the years and like in the 90s, it was popcorn like genre films that were winning the best picture Oscars and stuff whereas now you got to have a message, you got to have themes which for
yeah,
Michael
or
to jack off to
biopic. Got to have some really like
political kind of stuff
heartbreaking
like
story.
yeah, like it's really fascinating if you actually look at the best picture winners over the years, and how times have changed. So, yeah, like if they were to make Seven now, it probably would have to have some kind of social message or something like that, which maybe it does as it is. You could look at issues of mental health or something, I guess, but to me,
And
it's just
they would probably like want to show more
yeah.
like of the crimes happening
Mm.
and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Fun fact: there is actually I believe it was 7 issues, a comic series that was a spin-off of this, but it actually, yeah, it went into 7 parts. It went into each of the crimes and how John Doe set them up and carried them out and stuff. So yeah, they're kind of hard to find. Like no one's ever heard of them and stuff. But I read them years ago, and they were really interesting. So yeah, if you people out there can get your hands on them, I would highly recommend them. But speaking of if Seven was made today, shall we get into this bit now?
Yeah.
All right. So, if Seven was made today, and we're not talking about a remake, if it was actually made today, who would we cast in the roles of Mills, Somerset, Tracy, and John Doe? So, do you want to? Oh, how about I'll start because we started your thing last time.
Okay.
All right. Well, which character should we start with?
Somerset.
All right. I was sort of leaning towards two. I was kind of thinking Denzel Washington because he's just such a good actor, but I'm going with Samuel L. Jackson because that dude can do drama. Like I know he's sort of known for being a bit over the top and snakes on the motherfucking plane and all that sort of stuff. But and even earlier when Kylie was like sort of rewatching the end of Seven, it was the scene in the bar, where Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are talking to each other about how fucked up the world is, and I was sort of imagining Samuel L. Jackson in that role. I was like, you know what? I reckon he would be really good because Somerset, of course, was 7 days away from retirement and all this shit was going on and keeping him there, and it was the last thing he wanted. And I can just imagine Jackson playing that kind of, fed up sort of like, oh man, I've had enough of this bullshit kind of thing. So, yeah, so I've cast him. Who have you cast?
Well, it's maybe a bit obvious because he was recently in a movie I watched. But I'm gonna go with Jimon Hansi again
cool,
because
yep.
he is awesome and he's around the same age that he's about a decade older than roundabout what Morgan Freeman was when this was made.
Right.
And I just feel like he has the I don't know what the word is, but he's like got the demeanor to do that role.
Yeah, no,
really well.
I could see that. I also had another thought. If you wanted to get away from the African American casting, Donnie Yen, I thought would be interesting if you were to go with a completely different ethnicity for the character. I sort of thought that he could be kind of cool for that role, but that was just an afterthought that I had. But no, I'm sticking with Samuel L. Jackson because, yeah, that guy is amazing. So in the role of David Mills, I'm kind of keeping this as a bit of an MCU reunion. I don't know if it had something to do with the movie I watched last night, but I'm casting Chris Evans in the role of Mills because I can see it. I really can. Like, sort of the cocky, brash kind of, guy to start with, and then, by the end is just an empty shell of a human being. Yeah, and not only that, he would suit the look, I think. So yeah, I've cast Chris Evans.
I decided to cast Miles Teller.
Oh, okay, that's an interesting choice and a good one too. Yeah. Okay. What led you to that decision?
I don't know. I just started thinking about, guys around like in their 30s that would be that kind of thing, and he just popped into my head.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, cool. In the role of Tracy Mills, which was, of course, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, because, initially you and I were just going to do the detectives, but then Kylie said to me, who would you cast as Tracy? And I jokingly just said Margot Robbie, because, why not? But then I thought about it, and I was like, okay, no, hang on, who could I see in those scenes, like playing that role with that same kind of gravity and everything? And I'm going with a favourite of ours. Emma Stone is getting that role. Yep.
Interesting. I just don't feel this character like you guys all seem to. And you threw this on me last minute, so I just had to kind of instantly think for these two. So I just went with obvious choices, and so I just picked someone that I liked that I could picture. I was trying to picture her next to Miles Teller to see how I thought they went together. I'm not sure, but I pick Micah Monroe.
Ah, okay, yep, good choice. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this is because I've thought of a really brilliant casting choice for John Doe. Now, we're obviously not going to mention who did play him in the film in case anyone hasn't seen it and doesn't know. Although, honestly, come on. But I was kind of thinking, okay, like, you know, because the actor who originally played him wasn't known for those sort of roles in any sort of way and just brought so much creepiness. And I was sort of thinking, who is a really good actor who's not known for that sort of stuff but could potentially get away with playing that sort of very stoic, very deadpan, you know, almost laziness sort of thing. And I thought Brendan Fraser. Yeah. Can you imagine Brendan Fraser in that role? Like, I reckon he would be really good in it. Yeah. So there you go. I've got Chris Evans, Samuel L. Jackson, Emma Stone, and Brendan Fraser in my 4 main roles. And who have you got for...
Well, I didn't really know that about the actor to really think. So I went the opposite way and went for a really obvious choice when you want to get someone to play a killer like that.
Yeah.
So, and I just went, who do I like who's really good at being sinister and could do it really well? So mine is Michael Shannon.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking to myself, hang on, are you going Shannon or Dourif on this one? Can you imagine Brad Dourif in that role? Dourif.
He's got too much weird energy,
yeah,
I think,
true.
to do that character.
It's got to be very flat and no, Michael Shannon's a good choice. Yeah.
Also, Brad Dourif's, you know, retired now.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, cool. Actually, there was one thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about the production design, just really quick, because I'm just looking at the poster for Seven. I'm just remembering Somerset's outfit, like that sort of 40s style detective, you know, trench coat, fedora hat and everything. And like, there was so much of the film that really did have that kind of old school noir sort of an appeal, didn't it?
But also, you have to wear a hat to stop the rain. As
yeah.
You know, you see Brad Pitt getting soaked, and then he's there with his hat on, and it's like, yeah, Brad Pitt, you got to get a hat.
But even Brad Pitt at one point has like a sports coat on, but it was sort of like this, what do you call it, like tweed or something, like, you know, very vintage looking coat. And when you first meet John Doe, you know, in the hallway scene when they're at his door, and like even he looked like a 40s villain, you know, with trench coat and hat and stuff like that. So yeah, all of that really appealed to me in a really big way. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, look, honestly, I could seriously go on about this movie for another hour or so. So I think we should move on to
yeah, we really should, because it's already late. We started late.
Yeah, I know. Try having kids.
It's getting late.
All right. So, which one are we going to be talking about next? Yours or mine?
Let's go yours, because
all right.
Mine, I think, overall turned out better.
Yeah. Okay. So hang on, you mean the one that I gave you, right? Yeah. Okay, so the one that I gave you a choice of and you chose was Detroit Rock City, which is a film from 1999. Very simple premise. 4 kids who were in a Kiss tribute band called Dynasty.
Mystery.
Oh, Mystery. Sorry. Yep, there you go. Hey, what was Dynasty? That was another movie where there was a Kiss tribute band called Dynasty. Was that Role Models? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, so they've got tickets to go see Kiss. One of them has an ultra-conservative religious mother who finds the tickets and burns them. They wind up winning tickets in a radio contest, so it's sort of a road trip movie where they go to collect their tickets to get to the Kiss concert, only to find that there's been a big screw up, and so they come to a point where it's like, well, we got to get our way in, and so they have to come up with all these different ways to try and get into the Kiss concert. Like I said, very simple premise, but so you had not seen this film before?
Well, I had.
Oh,
I
that's
must
right, you had,
have,
but you completely
because
forgot it.
I sold the DVD on eBay.
That's right. So, well, let's treat this like it's the first time that you've seen it. Then, what did you think?
Well, I didn't remember
Yeah,
it, so
that's
it
why.
felt like watching it the first
Which
time.
is why we're doing this. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What did you think? Was it a good time?
This is a very teenage boy movie. So I it was fine. It's a 3-star film.
Oh.
Like I'm not adding it back to my collection.
Yeah. Oh,
again.
wow. Whereas I went online and was
But-
like, oh, can I get the Blu-ray to upgrade? No, it's over $100.
Yeah, and it's really funny because I know in your review you one of the best 70s soundtracks, and I'm listening to it and I'm like, this is from the Dazed and Confused soundtrack. This is from the Dazed and Confused soundtrack. This is from the Dazed and Confused soundtrack. There's so many films that were
Oh, yeah.
like
Well, that's
in
why I
both
said
of them.
one of. I didn't say it was the
Yeah.
best. Yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying.
No, that's fair enough.
But yeah, the best opening scene with Lynn Shay playing the conservative mother going to put a record on, and the wrong record is in there, and so it starts playing Kiss instead of her Carpenter's record.
Yeah.
And it's such a good build up to, like, she's got a glass of wine or something, and she's you know what's going to happen, and you're just waiting for it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, look, I remember I was working in a video store at the time, and my boss had tickets to a preview screening of this film and gave them to me. And I went with my girlfriend at the time. We went to see it, and I've just loved it ever since. I always remember these first screenings. I just thought it was so much fun. It had so much energy in it. It did go over the top, with the sort of silliness at times. Like, that end scene where Kiss are on stage and there's the camera shot from inside Gene Simmons' mouth with the tongue. I mean, come on. That is just absolutely absurd. But I like a bit of absurdity here and there in my movies. But, like I said in my review, I am a sucker for movies about rebellious characters that stick it to ultra conservative people, and this movie was one of them. Not just that, but also the whole the thing where you had the Guidos or whatever, who all those sort of what do you like cliques, different social groups and stuff against each other. And I mean, I'm siding with the rock people, of course, so that appealed to me. There was just so many things that really appealed to me about this film. I also loved, there were so many moments where, there were so many moments where, you think our characters are going to triumph, and then something else comes along, which is a problem that they've got to overcome. Like, I thought it was a really clever script. There were so many moments where they've got to overcome new problems. It was, just
Also, teenage boy fantasy script.
Well, okay, yeah. Now that was interesting because you've got So of the four main cast in it, there was Edward Furlong, Giuseppe Andrews, who was it? James DeBello, who was like the Wish version of Jason Mewes, and Sam Huntington. So Edward Furlong's character, Hawk, he has this scene where he's got to try and raise the money, so he goes into a strip club for women, where they've got a competition on where, you can get up and strip and win money. So there's a character played by Shannon Tweed, who am I remembering correctly, is she Gene Simmons' wife? I meant to look that up beforehand, actually, but I can't remember. I think she might have been married to him. But anyway, she was kind of a 80s, 90s sex symbol and stuff. And so she's like the older cougar sitting at the bar, eyeing him off. And I mean, God, yeah, the dude looked like he was 16 or something. And so, of course, later on, they wind up in her car and she pays him for sex. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I mean, I know, like, you and I are, like, fine, like, okay, whatever, like, it's a fun scene, but can you imagine if the roles were reversed in that scene and it was, like, an older guy picking up a 16-year-old girl or whatever and stuff, like, yeah, it was kind of interesting. I mean...
It's like no hard feelings. Everyone's just fine with that, but the outrage there would be if it was an older guy pressuring a teenage girl into having sex.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Everyone's just like, this is so funny.
Yeah. And, I mean, that was the thing, like, and again, you know, the thing with 90s movies, you know, like, no one batted an eyelid back then. It was just, like, this fun scene where an older woman is seducing a teenage kid, high school kid, like... So who cares? Like, you know, and yeah, that comes down to your sort of, you know, your teenage boyhood fantasy thing.
Oh yeah, because they all have their own little stories, and they all in some way get a go.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I just thought overall, you know, there was a lot of variety to the film. Like, yeah, a lot.
Who's your favorite character?
Of
the
that's
four
a
of them?
good question. Oh, wow. Okay. Shit. This has got me on the spot. I'm leaning towards Lex, played by Giuseppe Andrews, but mainly because he was the son of, you know, Lin Shaye's character, and so he kind of...
No.
Oh, wasn't he? Oh, was that...
No, Jeremiah.
Oh, Jeremiah.
Was the son.
Sorry.
Yeah. The drummer.
Jam. Oh, yes. Sorry. No, that's who I'm thinking of. Whoopsie daisy.
Oh, I was gonna say, Lex is kind of not a great character.
No, sorry. This is...
Oh, no, because Jeremiah was my favorite.
Yeah, this is my tired baby brain talking. No, because, yeah, I think his character had sort of more stakes in the matter, you know, being that it was that whole parental pressure thing and stuff. And like...
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's why he's your favorite, with your whole love sticking it to the conservatives.
Oh, yeah. No, because I was just... having this conversation with Kylie a few days ago. I remember we were watching the 1999 Marilyn Manson Big Day Out concert on YouTube, and I was telling her how back when that Big Day Out happened, my parents found out that I was going to a Marilyn Manson concert, and they were livid with me. They, like, my parents aren't really that conservative or anything, but they were like to the point where like they were about to ban me from going. I'm not kidding. And
wow.
Yeah, because Marilyn Manson is the devil and he, you know, sacrifices babies on stage and whatever the hell the media was like, they just bought the whole media thing, you know.
Well, I guess this makes my mum really cool because I remember I would watch, like I had the DVD of the concert and I would just play it and she'd be in the room, and I think she was just kind of fascinated by the I guess it's kind of like a modern day Alice Cooper, just like whole shock thing. Yeah. So she always just found it interesting. I didn't have the chance to go see Marilyn Manson because of course I grew up in New Zealand, and all the, you know, Big Day Out, was it Big Day Out? I think they had like an Auckland one, and all the bands that would tour quite often would just go to Auckland. So I missed out on a lot. I did see... No, I didn't. I keep thinking I saw Marilyn Manson at Big Day Out, but I think that was the one I missed, and I've just seen videos. I went to the one with 9 Inch Nails. I think that was that the 2000 one? Because I moved here I moved here at the end of 99, so I missed... I think I really wanted to go see Manson, but he was only playing Auckland.
Well, that was... Because, spoiler alert, I did end up going. No, because I then explained to my parents, no, I'm not going to a Marilyn Manson concert. He is there, but there are a lot of other bands that I'm going to, and so we kind of made a compromise. Like I said to them, okay, look, I just won't go and see Marilyn Manson if it makes you happy, you know. And of course I went and saw Marilyn Manson. And I mean, that was, oh my God, it's one of the best shows I've ever seen because of course John Five was in the band at that point, who is, you know, one of my most favorite guitarists now. And check out if you ever get a chance to the YouTube, the Sydney one, like, it's everything that was at the Gold Coast one. But yeah, so I sort of had moments like that. And so I kind of felt a bit of a connection with that character, like, he's got the mum who's like, no, you can't listen to that music and stuff. And he's just like, yeah, screw you, lady. Give me my drumstick.
Do you know what else I noticed when she burned the tickets?
Yeah.
They were $5.50.
Oh, I noticed that as well. I know. That was insane, wasn't it? Like, yeah. But yeah, no, I really love this movie. I just think it's got cracking energy. Like I said, there's so much variety, so many cool things happen throughout it. I mean, you look at the poster and there's just like, just this massive thing of characters that all sort of have some part in the film. And yeah, I mean, at least you didn't hate it, so there's that. Yeah. So.
And Natasha Lyonne's in it.
Yes.
So I always like to see her turn up.
Yeah, I thought she was really cool in it. Yeah.
She got to wear a cool costume too, being one of the disco girls.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there you go. All right. Now, as far as what you gave me a choice of and I ended up picking, what did I pick?
Before we go.
Yeah. Oh, that's the name of the movie. Lol.
Oh, I wondered why you talked to me.
Yeah, I was trying to make a joke. Never mind. Please continue. So what's this movie about?
So this is a movie directed by Chris Evans, and I first saw this when I was doing an MCU marathon because I pretty much had to watch almost all the MCU films ready for the new Doctor Strange coming out. And so I think I worked out I watched 35 films in that month.
Yeah.
13 of them were MCU films and 3 of them were Spider-Man films that I was watching alongside to be for the, the MCU Spider-Man films that related. And so I had watched 5 MCU films before I watched Before We Go, 2 of them on the same day.
Yeah.
So this was my break. And so I was like, oh, Chris Evans directed a movie, so I will check it out. So basically, Chris Evans is a trumpet player playing at like busking in a subway thing, or train station, rather.
Yep.
And Alice Eve plays Brooke, who is running to make the last train, which she misses, and she drops her phone as she's running past Chris Evans, so he picks it up, catches her on the way back, and she has lost her handbag, so she has no money or ID or anything, and he decides to be a nice guy and help her out. And the movie just kind of follows their night of them hanging out and trying to figure out her getting home and just talking about stuff happening in their lives. And yeah, so it's one of those movies that's just following a couple of people over a night in New York.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I had never heard of this film and thought, okay, cool, I'll give it a go. And I noticed it was on Stan, so I was like, oh, cool, that's going to make it very easy for me to watch. And so the first night we tried watching it, we sat there with a big picture of Chris Evans and Alice Eve on our screen with a buffering wheel going on, and we thought, okay, like, this is fine, like, it'll be fine. We waited for, oh God, I think it was maybe 3 or 4 minutes and it still wouldn't play. I tried it on my phone and it was playing. I was like, okay, that's weird. We could not get it to play. And so we tried it again last night. Same thing. Every other movie on Stan will play. Like, we tried a few different movies. Just that one movie will not play. So it's like they say in Jurassic Park, nature finds a way. And so I found a way to watch it.
That's all right. You're covered by me. I have the DVD because the first time I watched the film, I straight away went and found a copy. Afterwards.
Well, so anyway, sat down last night to watch it, and yeah, I didn't even know what it was about or anything, and I loved this film. I would definitely buy it on Blu-ray and throw it into my collection. I
don't know if it's out on Blu-ray.
I think I read that it was. I could be wrong. I don't know. Like I said, my brain is scrambled eggs at the moment.
Maybe I just bought the DVD because it was cheap on eBay.
Look,
whereas a lot of Blu-rays, if they're American, they're expensive.
I just
and
thought
possibly
this
not all regions.
movie felt really different to anything that I'd seen. I mean, I wouldn't call it a rom-com because there wasn't really a lot of
No, it's not
com.
a rom
It's
com.
a rom-dram in a way. A
Well,
rom-a-rama?
it's
Yeah.
kind of not really that either
Mm.
because it's like I remembered it as that, and then when I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, it's not really that. It's
Mm.
like more just hanging out
Yeah, yeah.
talking rather than like a full on
Mm. But
romance.
the thing that appealed the most to me was there's sort of an element of mystery as to like, okay, what is really going on, with these
Mm.
characters. And so um you just given little crumbs of information throughout the script. And then, when you find out more and more and it becomes even more interesting, and it really kind of hooked me in and I just wanted to know more about who these people are and why they were in these situations and stuff. And then, yeah, well, this is definitely a movie we'll also talk about in the spoiler section because
Mm.
I loved the ending. I really did. I am a big fan of ambiguous endings.
I knew you would like
Oh,
that
yes,
ending.
yes, 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 yes. Because it's not really that ambiguous an ending. Like, you kind of know what happened, like, what was written. Um, yeah, but no, I just thought that was such a perfect. It was another one of those moments I had where, it got to that bit, and I'm like, oh, please, 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 cut to black end credits, and it did, and I was like, yes. So yeah, look, I thought the ending was kind of realistic in a way. It didn't go where I expected it to in sort of a typical Hollywood, romance sort of a film. And yeah, also the way that it was shot and everything, I thought was really interesting. It was, I know a lot of people throw around the term documentary style anytime you get a film like this where, the camera's not really locked onto a tripod, but no, it was just very interesting the way it was shot and edited as well. Yeah, no, there was a lot that I really liked about it. Yeah, that was quite a surprise. So I was very
Hmm.
happy about that. And
Yeah.
yeah, um, but yeah, definitely want to talk more in the spoiler section.
Yeah, it's a bit sad that, that whole actor making a movie thing, that it gets a lot of hate.
Hmm.
And so he hasn't made any other movies.
Oh, is that right? Wow. Oh, wow.
Mm.
Because that was 10 years ago. So,
Yeah.
okay. That's a shame. Because yeah, I thought he did a terrific job in terms of
I know
directing it.
I was listening to a podcast this morning
Hmm.
to just go off on a tangent on
Hmm.
that. And
Hmm.
I'm catching up on old Patreon episodes, and they were talking about Maestro because from when it came out
Hmm.
and they went to see it. And one of them commented on how, that movie got so much hate that
Hmm.
they weren't expecting it to be as good as it
Hmm.
was, and were really praising Cooper's direction and the way it was filmed and everything, and that he, took the risk to do it in that way. I'm just saying what he said
Hmm.
because I still haven't seen the film yet. Um, but yeah, that you know everyone's jumping on the hate train for Bradley Cooper,
Hmm.
so but saying the film's not actually, like they thought it was pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Like they thought it was. I think it was the way he's told the story is not so emotionally gripping
Hmm.
or something. But yeah, I don't know. I'll watch it
Hmm.
one day. I keep forgetting about it because no one talks about it anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like the whole, you hear about Oscars movies for this
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
time, and then the Oscars happens, and it's like, okay, they
Hmm.
don't exist anymore.
Actually, I'm just looking down below on Letterboxd at the similar films kind of thing, and yeah, there's two films that stand out that it did kind of remind me a little of. One was Serendipity, which is a film that I absolutely
Mm.
love, and yeah, it sort of had a bit of a similar vibe to it. But the one, of course, that I'm sure a lot of people would compare it to is Before Sunrise.
Oh yeah, everyone compares it to that and basically says it's crap because you've got Before Sunrise, so you can't have any two people hanging out for a night movie now because it's been done, and
Yeah,
that
whatever.
movie's perfection, so you can't do anything
Oh,
else.
look,
Yeah.
Before Sunrise is an amazing film, but it doesn't mean you can't. I mean, That'd be like saying, "Oh, Gran Turismo was a shit film because we've seen films about car races before." So or
Yeah, but that's how a lot of people are. It's like Exorcist. You can't
yeah,
have a possession movie now because Exorcist did it perfectly. So what's the
exactly. That's why the Pope's Exorcist got absolutely railed, and you and I were there like, "Yay, that movie's awesome." Yeah. So yeah, no, yeah, it sort of gave me similar, but I mean, this is what I mean. This is a to the film's credit. I'm putting it up there with those films. So that's how good I thought it was. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, no, I was very pleasantly surprised with that film. It was one of those films that I was watching it very late last night, and I was like, sitting up in bed watching it, and I was really tired, but I was so engrossed in the film that yeah, it kept me awake the whole time. So there you go. You did good.
good?
Yay!
I made up for Phantoms
You
last time.
did. You did indeed. Yes. Because no, Before We Go is a film that I would happily watch again and again. Well, Kylie slept through pretty much the whole thing, so I most likely will get a chance to watch it again. So yeah. All right. Well, that is it for all of our films for this week. So, what are we doing next fortnight, I should say?
So feeling in an action mood. So
Deadliest Prey? All right. True that.
we've already done that.
Deadliest Prey? No.
Oh, Deadliest Prey. No, I don't. I don't want to listen to that girl again. You need to stop saying that.
Okay. Do I, though?
Yes, you
Because it
do.
makes you chuckle every time I type it out.
No, it doesn't.
It does, though.
It makes me roll my eyes.
Yeah, okay. That's chuckling, rolling the eyes. There's a fine line there, so I'll take that. Yeah. Anyway, what have you decided upon?
I thought a Mission Impossible film would be fun,
Ooh.
and so I haven't rewatched everything to be sure because it's ever evolving, but let's just go with it for now. My favorite of them all is Ghost Protocol,
Yay!
or at least a standout one. So I thought, let's do that one.
Brilliant. No, I'm. Oh, look, I love every single Mission Impossible film except for the second one. So,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm very happy to be watching that one. So, all right. So we will be discussing Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol, but it is also that time again where Frankie and I force each other to watch things that maybe neither of us wanted to watch. Who knows? But it is time for Without Consent. So, yeah. Who's going first?
I'll go first.
All right. What am I going to be
So-
forced to watch?
We have something fun
Hmm.
and a little weird
Okay.
because this is a John Waters film.
Oh, I haven't.
His probably most commercial film, but it's like one of my favorite films. So you'll be watching Cry Baby.
Oh, okay. I have not seen that one, but that is a film that I've been kind of curious about. So, yeah. All right. Cool. Thank you for that. Well, I have for you a comedy classic that I
Uh-oh.
is. Oh man, no! It is seriously no. You are going to love this film. This is not like a weird, stupid, kung pao sort of a thing or anything like that. This is one of those films that, oh my god, you can watch it over and over and over again, and it will never get old. A film from 1987 called Summer School with Mark Harmon and
that
Kirstie
one.
Alley. Yeah. About a gym teacher who has plans for the summer and has to cancel them because he's got to teach a English class full of idiots over the summer. But yeah, it kind of winds up, sort of involved in the students' lives in various ways and helps them out. And they help him out and everyone discovers things about each other. But there are two characters in this who go by oh god, hang on, it's been so long since I've seen it. One of them, his nickname is Chainsaw, and was his sidekick named Dave, I think? I can't remember. But yeah, they are obsessed with horror films, especially Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And there is one scene in particular in this film, which I'm not going to say anything about because I don't want to spoil it, but oh my God, it is just such a gem for horror movie fans.
Well, just to explain for Crybaby too,
Oh, yeah.
it's a musical set in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And I just realized it fits with your theme of going against the conservatives.
Okay, I love it already.
Because you've got Amy Locane is
Oh, right.
Allison, the good girl,
Yep.
who falls for Johnny Depp, who is Crybaby.
Mm-hmm.
And so she starts mixing in with that crowd, and her grandmother that she lives with is horrified.
Right.
Because, you've got the girls wearing pants
Mm-hmm.
and
No.
things like that. But yeah, and there's some really cool songs, and everyone looks really cool. You've got Iggy Pop has a role in it. He's Crybaby's uncle.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So yeah, there's lots of good stuff in this. You got Tracy Lords in it, Ricky Lake's in it.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah, okay.
yeah, Willem Dafoe's in it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah,
So
well,
it's a lot of fun.
I was going to say...
And really good songs too.
Okay. I was going to say, yeah, look, I'll give it a watch, but I don't have a choice because, this is without consent. So there you go. All right. Cool. Well, that pretty much concludes everything non-spoiler. So this is the part where, for all of those people out there who don't want to hear spoilers about Seven or, well, not really Detroit Rock City. I don't think there's any spoilers for that. But there are definitely spoilers for before we go. So, yes, if you don't want to hear spoilers about them, thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Sorry things have been a bit weird tonight, but yeah, my head's not with it. So, it's what you get. Have kids, they said. It'll be fun, they said. So we will see you in a fortnight where we talk about Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, Cry Baby, and Summer School. It is going to be nothing but a good time. So until then, stay safe, watch lots of movies. We will catch you then. Alrighty, so from what I've gathered, there's probably a few spoilerific things about the movie Seven. So nobody at the time knew that Kevin Spacey was cast in the role of the killer in this film. It was, to the point where, his name doesn't even show up at the start of the film. You don't see it until the very end, like it's the first end credit that comes up, Kevin Spacey as John Doe.
I wondered why he got special mention at the end.
Yep, because nobody knew. It was actually, because this is before the internet was like ubiquitous. So, it was a very closely guarded secret. So when you get that shot, and I was just saying to Kylie before when she was watching it, like it's another shot that sort of chills me, but it's such a simple thing. When on the last day, you got Mills and Somerset, they get out of the car, they're walking to the police station, and the camera is panning along the road, and then it stops as they get to the door, and then the taxi rolls up, and you see these feet get out, and shut the door, and then, this person in this white shirt with his hands in front, you don't see anything, just kind of, steps to the street, and... yeah, it's sort of like, when you first watch it, you're like, oh, what's going on there? But when you know who it is, it's just like, oh my God, this is the moment where the killer reveals himself.
Yeah, but you can tell it's that.
Yeah, but back in the day, you didn't know it was Kevin Spacey or anything like that. And so, that big reveal was massive at the time, which was so freaking cool. And yeah, Spacey, like, this is the thing, like, this is... so many people are like, oh, you can't watch Kevin Spacey films because Kevin Spacey, but that's the thing, like, you got to separate art from the artist because that performance was just amazing. And yeah, the whole craft of his plan, I thought, turning things around so that, he was himself, John Doe, was envy, and, he wanted David to become Wrath, like, by, of course, the whole what's in the box? Well, it's Tracy's head. I just thought, that was so clever. It wasn't just like two more killings. It was like this whole big plan that he sort of had and everything. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Kevin Spacey in that role?
Well, I mean, yeah, he was the killer. I don't know. I'm not as like completely excited about it as you are.
Yeah.
I mean, the killer showed up
Hmm.
and it was him, and yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I know. And I also love that there were so many, you know, motifs in the film for the number seven. Like Somerset had 7 days to go. There were, seven deadly sins. That delivery truck at the end was meant to turn up at 7 p.m. There's like all these little sort of sevens that appear throughout the film as well. But yeah, no, that the ending I love so much because it's one of those rare films where the villain wins. I mean, yeah, sure enough, he gets shot. They should have had him get shot 7 times. That would have been amazing. But I think he gets shot like 5 times or something. But as a result of that, he's just a suspect at that point, and so Mills has like committed murder, and so he's going away for a long time. Plus, he's just like had his wife and newborn or unborn kid, I should say, murdered. Like, I mean, that is a really harsh ending. Like, it doesn't get much darker than that, really. But that's what I was saying before. Like with Paltrow's performance in that cafe, like when. She reveals that she's pregnant, and Somerset says that he went through the same sort of thing and everything, and then he gives her that advice. Is like, if you choose to have the kid, you make damn sure that every moment you spoil that kid as much as you can. Like, just the way that Gwyneth starts crying, but not full on crying. Her face just sort of contorts into that crying face, and I just thought, like, that is great acting. It's sort of it's pulling it back. It's withholding the full emotion, and I thought the subtlety there was really, really cool. I also, I mean, like I was saying as well, all these little moments of levity. Like there's that scene where Mills and Somerset are shaving their chests to put the wireless mics on, and they're sort of having a joke about what if I slice off a nipple, would it be covered, and everything. But like, when you've seen the film and you're sitting there like, oh, dude, your wife and unborn kid has just been murdered. You're about to go through, you are literally descending into hell right now and everything. And like, it just makes it really different. Like it's a sort of a laughing moment between two characters, but you're just like, you can't laugh with them, because you know what's about to happen. So, yeah, that's what I mean. I just, the filmmaking in that thing was just amazing. I'm just looking at Nobbins' review. He's just posted his Letterboxd review. Shall we read it out?
Okay.
So he said, first time, he's given it 4 stars. First time seeing it since I saw it at the cinema nearly 30 years ago. I hadn't rewatched it until this point as I worried that it wouldn't hit as hard as that first time. And I was right. The contrivances are more apparent, and the whole movie is viewed via the lens of that ending. I disagree. Still a terrific movie, and the first viewing will always be special for me, but maybe some things are better left without re-examination. I'm going to like the review anyway.
I would agree with that somewhat, that because I remembered the ending, I'm just kind of sitting there knowing the ending, which it is one of those movies that you can't repeat the first viewing because of that ending, and then you just know that. I mean, I know you get lost in it, like you said, that funny scene you can't laugh at because you're just thinking about what's happening off screen, whereas, I mean, I didn't think about that, but
Right.
I mean, I don't know, maybe it's because I just like pretty much hate Gwyneth Paltrow, but I don't know, I didn't get lost in her performance like you did, and I just didn't really, I don't know. She just didn't really do that much in the movie.
No, that's fair enough.
So, I mean, I can feel for Brad because we followed him in the movie, but at the same time, I just... Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the thing that happens with Tracy is more of an impact on David, like, yeah, you're right. Like, you don't really feel that much for Tracy. Like, it's like, oh, damn, she got killed, whatever. But it's the impact that it has on David, I think, is what really kind of hammers that ending
Which
home.
also doesn't affect you as much. Well, unless you're you.
Yeah.
But it didn't affect me as much knowing the ending and exactly what was
Yeah,
coming.
yeah.
You're
See,
kind of waiting for it, but it's because you know about it. It's a different feeling.
yeah, I get a lot more out of the film than just for me. It does not at all.
I mean, I'm not saying it's. I mean, obviously, I gave it 4.5 stars. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that it ruins the movie when you know everything that's happening. Obviously, I watched Prisoners twice in a couple of days,
yeah, yeah,
but it just it just changes it because you know what's coming,
yeah,
and then it depends how you go along the way, and obviously you're like full on into this and studying everyone's performances and costumes in detail and everything. So
yep,
you're getting
guilty.
all of that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, like what Nobbin said, how the whole movie is viewed via the lens of the ending. Yeah, I disagree. As I've said throughout our discussion of it, to me, it's the horror of the crimes and the way that John Doe is manipulating these people into doing horrific things, and the fact that that kind of stuff does exist in our world and it does happen, and even with the ending, like I get chills. Like there's a shot from the helicopter, from that point of view where they're looking down, like a big wide shot of the characters walking along, and you see John Doe, with his shackles on and his bald head just sort of bobbed down, and he's just kind of like shimmying along, or whatever, and it looks unnatural, and that is another reason why I kind of look at John Doe as like a movie monster, because if you look at that shot, the way he's walking, I don't know if it's just because of the distance, it makes it look weird, but he just looks kind of unnatural and weird looking and just creepy as fuck. But yeah, so no, I get a lot more out of it than just the ending. I just think the ending to me is that cherry on a really grimy, brown, disgusting cake. Yeah, so
Well, I mean, I'd forgotten a lot about the crimes and the clues and all of
yeah,
that. I didn't
right.
remember any of that. So that was kind of like seeing it for the first time. I didn't know what was coming as far as that stuff
Yeah,
went.
yeah.
Just the end. And also, I'd forgotten that they didn't like show you what was in the box because these days I'm sure they would.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like Somerset would probably actually pull it out and go, yeah, no, this is what he's done to you. One of my favorite moments in the whole film is the sloth bit, where they find the fingerprints in the lawyer's office that say "help me," and they're like, okay, it's this criminal. I can't remember the dude's name now, but so they send all the SWAT teams and everything, and they're like, this has got to be our man, and Mills and Somerset are like, no, he's not. But that scene, I mean, that is out of a horror film, where they all bust in and they see that guy who's been tied to a bed for an entire year, and he's just absolutely almost skeletal, and he's got his hand has been chopped off and sewn up, and there's just like he's got sores all over him, and they think that he's dead. And then that moment where that cop goes right up to his face and is like, you got what you deserve, whatever, and of course the guy just like coughs, and and they're like, oh my god, he's alive. And there's that one shot, only goes for like 2 seconds or whatever, but where that character's on the bed and he's just like, thrashing around on the bed with those dark eyes and everything. And just, oh my god, that moment just will haunt me forever. I hate that so much. So yeah, that was cool.
Oh, the other thing I noticed, I find it a bit weird that a guy like that, like the John Doe, would go to the library to get books to read about the sins.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I guess
guess they
so.
had to have a way to track him down, but I'm just like, surely someone like that would be finding books from a bookstore and having a library or something and not just going and borrowing them and
Yeah,
leaving a trail.
Yes, but unless he wanted them to, because remember, like he did want them to eventually find him and everything. Like that was part of his plan. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, I'm going on about this film again, so I'm going to shut up about seven because otherwise this is going to be a 5-hour episode, and nobody wants that. Let's talk about before we go. So, what are your thoughts on the ending?
Well, yeah, it's good because you can
tell us
just
about the ending. Like, what happens? Because it was your movie.
well, everyone knows who's in the spoiler section. So yeah, at the end, she gets on the train and is leaving and finds the hotel card they filled out together in her pocket, and it says please turn over or whatever with an arrow, and she turns it over and the camera cuts away so you don't see what he wrote. And she reads it and smiles, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, because I mean, look, there might be some people in the spoiler section who just don't care. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like, these two obviously had that connection, that chemistry, and I think the actors also had really good chemistry as well. But they do share a kiss at one point. But yeah, she's married, but her husband is a cheating asshole, and so she wants to get away from him, but she can't. And I thought that was a really interesting character dynamic because there are people like that out there. There are women who have these horrible, awful husbands who cheat on them, but they don't want to leave them because they love them and stuff. And, I always find that a very interesting sort of a thing from a psychological point of view. So, she was going through that. And then, he had this whole thing with, he was still pining for his ex, but sort of had closure when he finds out that she's pregnant. They have this one moment where they kiss and it's sort of like, okay, but then it doesn't really, that's what I mean. I thought, okay, we're going into typical Hollywood territory where, they're going to fall in love and she's going to realize that there's more to life than her husband. He's going to realize there's more to life than his ex, but it didn't go there. And so, in the end, she actually does go back to the husband. But then there's that thing and she sort of turns it over and she smiles, cut to black, end credits. And I think that, it was information to find him again in one way or another. Or, I think somebody on Letterboxd said, I bet it said something like, meet me back here in 6 months. And I thought, oh, that would be cool. So, it's something like that. But, it didn't have to specifically spill it out for you. So I really dug the ending. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I was surprised to see how many people hated the ending because it didn't show what was written. And I'm like, why does it have to just make it up?
Yeah, exactly.
Like even like, I don't know if the people who wrote it had an idea of what it was and they just decided not to do it that way. But I mean, even if they did, who cares?
Yeah.
You can make up what you want. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. I kind of get it for, there was a film from, I think the 2000s, maybe the 90s, called Limbo, and that revolved around these people that were stranded on an island, and there were, I don't know, like drug smugglers or pirates or some sort of bad guys that, were in the way. And that movie was kind of, had this famous ending because there's a thing where at the end there's a plane coming and they spot the plane, but it's left unsaid if it was a rescue plane or more bad guys. Now, that's the kind of ending I can imagine people getting shitty, and justifiably getting shitty about, because it's sort of like, oh man, like, which one was it? Like, because it's very black or white. But I still dug it because it's like, well, it can be whatever you want it to be, But whereas this ending, I thought, it's pretty obvious what it says. So, why would you get shitty about that? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. But people get shitty about anything, I guess. So, there's that. So, anyway.
I guess some people just don't use their imaginations. And so they're just like, oh, they didn't tell me what happened. So now I don't know what happened. So I have no resolution to my story.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, there's a lot of films like that, especially you get your more like slice of life things. So they just kind of end because, it's like hangout type movie or whatever. So it just ends and there's no because people are just going to carry on living their lives.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, look, overall, yeah, like I said, I thought, the characters were very interesting and it all felt different to me. So no, I really enjoyed the film. So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. All right. Did you have anything you wanted to say about the end of Detroit Rock City? I mean,
Well, I mean, it's very obvious they eventually get into the Kiss concert.
yeah, I did like the way though that they framed the bullies. Although when you think about it, like the bullies kind of didn't deserve that because James DeBello's character was trying to roll that kid for his ticket. Like he was kind of the asshole. And
Well, yeah, but then they beat him up and took the
yeah,
money and still did the stuff.
well,
So
yeah, I guess, yeah, all right. I suppose there was that,
everybody was
but he
bad.
started it. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, no, I thought that was kind of cool the way that they did that. Like, yeah, but anyway. All right, well, I'm out of here because, yeah, I've got kids crying. I've got no voice left. I don't have a functioning brain. There's a lot of things.
And I am super tired because it's way past my bedtime
Yes.
and I have to get up for work in the morning.
Yes, you do. You've got to get up in like 15 minutes. So, yeah, it's time to go. So, thank you everybody for jumping into the spoilery sealed section with us. Yes, once again, hope you all had fun with this episode. I know we did. Oh my god, we're just having so much fun. And yes, we will see you in 2 weeks when we talk about all those movies that I mentioned before that I can't be fucked mentioning again. So, there you go. In the meantime, stay safe, watch lots of movies. Bye for now.